Going to call the Tuesday, February 5th, 2013 City of Oldsmar Council meeting to order. I want to welcome everybody here this evening. Apologize for my voice. I'm fighting a wicked cold right now, but usually at this time I would ask you to please rise for the invocation or pledge led by our city attorney, Mr. Tom Trask. But this is not Mr. Tom Trask sitting next to me. It's Bob Metz. So we'd like to welcome Bob.
Thank you.
And now I'd like to ask you to please rise for the invocation and the pledge.
Our Heavenly Father, send down your blessing on this meeting of the City Council and upon the individual members who comprise it. Give the council members a clear sense of duty and lead them to the faithful discharge of the same. Direct them in their deliberations at this meeting so that all things may be done to the glory of thy name and welfare of the people of Oldsmar. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I want to welcome everybody here tonight. Our first item on our agenda tonight is our Citizens Open Forum, and this gives anybody in the audience an opportunity to address the council. We'll have a few rules. First, I respectfully ask you to keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes. Second, please don't speak towards anything that's on tonight's agenda. And last, when you come up to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. And with that said, I know Mr. Walters is here. We'll let him go first as customary.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Jerry Walters, 1108 Robinwood Drive. There's two reasons why I'm up here today. Number one, I'm going to, in frustration, bring this forward first. I am very uptight about the problem that is occurring over at the Forest Lake Plaza. Nothing appears to be done. It's a real mess over there. The fascias are really coming apart, and it really looks like a mess, like we're not deserving that type of thing. And I don't know whether or not anything has been decided or argued about or whatever might be the case, but this is something that needs to be resolved.
We brought it up. We've been bringing it up.
I know, and I'm bringing it up again.
It was discussed at our last meeting. There's nothing we can do. We've tried everything in the world. You know how I feel about it. I want the thing to fall down.
Well, we've had code enforcement go out there and look at it, and they have made some repairs.
Yeah, if the repairs have been made, they're not visible from what I can see, and it's just a mess over there. And if nothing can be done, well, then that's the case. But that's a shame that we as a city can't do anything with it.
I think we can all
Don't
agree on
even
that.
come before us, and we can't make them come before us. I want to make them come before us, but we can't make them, I found out.
Anyways, that was the first item. The second item is that this coming, when is that? Mayor, Vice Mayor
Me, Janice?
Beaverland?
Oh.
That's what your sign says.
Whoops.
I want everybody to understand. That is not me.
And that is not I.
Janice, just agree with me if you will. The February 14th, we're having the Valentine's luncheon. It's called a tea, membership tea for the Friends of the Library. And I know that you all want to attend, whether you can or not, that's something else. But I did want to make it known, and hopefully we can have a great group over there. And it's mainly a membership type thing.
And it's free.
And it is free this time, yeah. But it's a case of we're already expecting about 35 to 40 people, and we sure would love to have 70 or 80 people. But anyways, I'm making that known, and hopefully we can get enough people there to really have a great time.
Is it at 11:30 or is it noon?
It's at noon.
It's at noon?
That's what I read.
Okay.
It's at noon, right, Jerry?
Yes, right.
Sometimes.
So it's over at Tico Hall, which is over in the library, which is a great, nice room to be meeting.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else want to address the council? Nobody else? I know we got some residents from Bel Air that wanted to.
Yes, hi, good evening. My name is Dave Richardson. I live at 549 Trout Lane in Gull Air Village. I'm on the board of directors, and I'm here to address the council on an issue involving the storage of 2 junk vehicles in Gull Air, which I feel is in violation of city code. These vehicles are located at 543 Trout Lane, one in the street and one in the driveway. 5 weeks ago, this coming Thursday, at a meeting here in these chambers, I spoke to Janice Miller about this issue and asked her what I could do to address it. She said, inform the code enforcement officer, which I did the next day. In the following 4.5 weeks, I was given 2 promises that the vehicles would be towed, which I relayed to our board and concerned neighbors. The vehicles are still there. You may ask, how can that be? Well, here's how. The code enforcement officer told the owner of both vehicles to cover one in the driveway and with a car cover and put a current tag on the one in the street. I feel that in spite of that, both vehicles continue to violate the code since both are partially dismantled and totally inoperable. Our board has been working very hard this past year to make Gull Air a better place, a more attractive place. We have made significant investments in our facility to work toward the achievement of that goal. In addition, we constantly remind residences that need reminding to keep their properties neat and attractive. And there are many benefits from these endeavors, not the least of which is enhanced property values. If achieved, that is very beneficial to the city as well. The result of our efforts are diminished, however, by allowing, or worse, by promoting this situation to remain standing. If permitted in this case, why not elsewhere in Gull Air? Why not elsewhere outside of Gull Air? I invite each of you to come to our village to see firsthand what we are concerned about. If you do, I'm positive that you will agree that these vehicles are an eyesore or are in violation of city code. I am asking the council to take the steps necessary to have these 2 vehicles removed from Gull Air Village. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. I'd ask our city manager to respond to that, please.
Well, basically, you kind of got the history of what happened here, and the complaint was investigated, and the one vehicle is in the street, and the owner has gotten it currently licensed. So we would not consider it to be an inoperable vehicle or an unlicensed vehicle. The other one that is covered up either in his driveway or carport is not considered a violation either. I mean, that happens in other places, and we don't go around looking under car covers to see what's under it, especially if it's, you know, in a driveway or in a carport. So at this point, I don't believe that they're in violation. One of them was, and it was, I guess, given a warning or notice over a period from, I think you said January 23rd or 24th or something like that, over a period of probably at least a week. But the owner did bring it into compliance by getting it's currently licensed.
Well, then there must be a city code that I'm not familiar with, because I read the code and it says if the vehicles are partially dismantled and inoperable, they're in violation. And these vehicles are totally inoperable. They've been stripped of parts. There's no way. One that has no engine. It's missing. It's gone. That's the one in the driveway. The one in the street is there for everybody to see. The dashboard is totally dismantled. The windshield is cracked. It's not even suitable for the demolition derby. I don't understand why you feel this is not a violation of the city code. Would you like this car in front of your house?
Absolutely not.
Well, let me, I had.
Whoa, sir, not from there.
No, don't talk to the
Come
audience.
up there to talk.
Remember, I had this problem on my street.
Me too.
If a car can't run, it's not operable.
Exactly.
Is there something that Rick, not right now, but is there something maybe Rick can do?
Well, we can go back and revisit it and see if there's some other options or opportunities.
I would suggest we do that. In fact, the matter, and this is not grandstanding, you people know me. I want to come out and look at it too. I mean, you know, I've been doing this for over 20 years, so it's not, I'm not trying to grandstand with anybody because I'm not up for reelection. I'm not ever going to run again. So this is something that I do want to see because it's not, there's something wrong here. I don't think there's anything wrong with our code enforcement officer, but there's something here that's not right. To have a car set out there weeks at a time, months at a time, and never moves. There's got to be something wrong. If nothing else, ask that there's no cars parked on that street. You know, I don't know what, anyway, I'll get with one of y'all.
Not only that, but those are small lots. You know, I mean,
It's just not right.
no, it's not right.
We're going to go back out and take a look at it.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Bob Little. I live at 37 Pelican Drive East in Gullier. I'm also on the board of directors. My frustration is the following. All right, that car was originally tagged with a sticker. The violation was it was an altered tag. The tag on the car was not, it was an altered tag. The code enforcement officer is the one that put that sticker on. The next day, the owner of that car just ripped the sticker off the car. In the meantime, it was a period of a couple weeks, the code enforcement officer promised us twice. One, he says, I promise you that on this Friday, I am going to tow that car. When that didn't happen, he happened to be in Gullier Village on Saturday inspecting golf carts. And at that time, he said, I promise you I will tow that car. This is the one on the street now. I promise you I will tow it on Monday. Never happened. It just never happened.
Well, we got the email today about the sequence of events. I just got this thing this afternoon, so we know the sequence of events, and I agree with you. I would have somehow. I think the law enforcement officer should have got involved in it, but you know, I'm not a code enforcement guy. But there's something there. You're right. When you alter something, when you alter a tag, that's against the law.
Yeah. Now, here's the frustration. All right, it does have a legitimate tag on it now, I believe. It is inoperable. There's absolutely no doubt about that, as Dave said. But again, we're going to tow it, we're going to tow it, we're going to tow it. He put stickers on it twice. And then all of a sudden, the car had a legitimate sticker on it. And how did that happen? He told him to do it. The day after, he said he was going to tow the car. So we as a board met with the head of, I always get her name mixed up, it's Marie.
Marie.
We met with her, and he also came in toward the end of the meeting, and all he did was just backtrack on what he said. He backtracked on everything. So it's frustration that has me here. Something needs to be done about it. I understand, I mean, I know that you all know that. I know that, but can I read it anyway? This is,
As long as you're within your 5 minutes, you can do
it's going to
whatever you
take,
like.
this will take 30 seconds.
Right.
I'll do it real fast. City ordinance prohibits the parking of any inoperable junk, dismantled, abandoned, or unlicensed vehicle. Dismantled being the key word. So even if it is properly licensed now, it's inoperable, as Dave said before. So we just ask that you think about that and give it some thought.
Yeah, we're going to revisit it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a question, I guess. Kind of hard sometimes, unless we've been given information, to determine how a vehicle is inoperable or dismantled to some extent. I mean, I can see, have we ever asked somebody to prove that it's operable, I guess? I mean, is that something that we would do?
I don't
Have them
think so.
prove to us that it's,
Can we do that?
yeah, can we do that?
I don't
I
see
guess
why
you
not.
need to ask the city attorney that
Yeah, I
question.
don't see why not. If the engine's out, I assume he could,
That
just
could be
get
the
on
one
his
in the
back
driveway,
and
though.
look straight up and see if the engine's out. If it's
That
on
might be the
if
one
it's
in the
on street
driveway,
there.
which I don't really have a concern. And then I have a question of
Making a difference.
Gullier, is there anything in your bylaws or rules that allow, I mean, I know we do in our association that they're in violation, regardless of what we do, are they in violation of your own rules? No?
Something to change your bylaws.
Well, we're going to
You want to address the council, sir?
we're going to readdress this thing, okay? Before we go into a lot of dialogue, we are going to readdress it.
Hi, my name is George Comey, and I'm on the board of directors also in Gallia Village. I live on Bass Court, but soon to buy a house that's probably only about 100 feet from this car. And this particular house I'm buying is probably the most expensive house sold in Gallia in the past 5 years. So it's on the canal, it's one of the houses, and this vehicle, I mean, you could see it right out the bedroom window. I'd be staring at it, you know? So you just asked something about Gallia Village in our bylaws. We have covenances, you know, and they did a pretty good job when they set this thing up to cover most issues. But this issue, I think in particular, I like to say it's about the kids. This is a 30-year-old something, and he's selling these parts on the internet, and this particular car that's in the road was dropped off on a ramp truck. Now, I represent two other, well, I see one of the persons here that I'm representing that wrote a letter. There's another guy named Tom that I'm representing, and he has a letter written. I'm not going to bother to read that because it's all about the same thing. These people have watched this activity go on for the past 2 months, you know. My letter that we wrote them up as a board, thinking that, you know, since they didn't think of everything in this, that piece of paper that I passed out before the meeting, those are city codes. And somebody from Oldsmar has brought this by and dropped it off as literature for the residents of Gallia Village to read. Oh. And that's the one that Bob just read. So everybody's saying to us as board members, how come you don't do something about this? How come you don't do something about this, you know? And it's been going on. So that's a little more background for you. I mean, I think it's a great place to live, like Dave said. We're trying to do a good job on the clubhouse and everything, try to bring the property values up that'll benefit everybody. We got some problems there that we need the assistance of the town, and I've been working with Ann on a few of these. We're like a microcosm of the US. I mean, we got foreclosures in there. We got 23 of them. I got a little map of Gallia Village of people that walked away on the notes. In the prime time, these mobile homes are worth $100,000. They're not right now. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we're working on that problem also. You know, so we need your help sometimes. And that's why we're here, asking for your help. You know, so thank you very much.
Yep, you're very welcome. You're going to get our help. We're going to go and ask them to prove that the vehicles move. And if they don't, we're going to get them out of there.
Because one of the vehicles is not on just a private property. One of the vehicles is on city property.
Even if it's on private property, if it can't move, it's still.
I'm concerned about the one on the city property right now.
By the way, we told them not to wear a Patriots t-shirt.
So much for that.
Wait till next year. Yeah, my name is Carl LaFrance. I'll keep it short and sweet. I live at Gallia on Canal Way. And I hate to point fingers at anybody, but I think it's fairly obvious that somebody in the town hall is not doing their job. And that's a code enforcement officer. And he's supposed to know what these regulations are. Anybody looking at this car that says this car can be considered operable is lacking.
Well, we're gonna get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
That was short and sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to address the council? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I corrected myself. I apologize.
Hi, I'm Linda Froelich. I live at 592 Canal Way. And we've gone through all this, how ugly it is, and all the oil on the streets, and all this other kind of stuff. There's one other thing. A lot of times it's not just that junk car parked there. There's other vehicles there, which they're allowed to do. However, it's right on a corner.
Yes.
I was coming down this way to turn to go to my house. I didn't see this guy coming over here because there was an Explorer behind this junk car. So it's not just looking ugly. There's a traffic problem there too.
Yes.
that I think should be looked into. I don't know if they're parking too close to the corner. I mean, that guy didn't see me and I didn't see him. And we almost hit and we were not speeding, honest.
Thank you. Anybody else want to address the council? Anybody else? Seeing no one else, I'll close the citizens' open forum. First item on our consent docket, first item on our agenda tonight under the council is the consent docket. Tonight we've got two items. First is approved minutes of December 4th, 2012 City Council meeting, and the second is approved purchase of our bypass pump for utilities under the Florida Sheriff's Association contract. Does anybody wish to pull the question, anything? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Have a second? Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Under the City of Oldsmar, we've got the presentation of the Homer Brunson Ward Schrecengost Governmental Award. Normally I would give this, but because my voice is very hoarse right now, I'm going to ask the incoming mayor to give it, and I'm going to ask the vice mayor.
No, that's fine. That's good.
No, I'm going to ask you to give the history of the award, please.
Okay. The Homer Brunson Award, Schrecengost Award, is that I'm probably the only one here anymore that remembers these two guys. Homer Brunson and Ward Schrecengost were, I sat with them on the council in 1970, and Ward was at that time was the longest serving mayor in the city of Oldsmar, and Homer was his political opponent. He had sat on the council for 12 years. In fact, Homer died in office as mayor. And so this is the Homer Brunson Ward Schrecengost Award was started back in 1990 as kind of a way for employees can be chosen by their peers for their dedication, not only to their fellow workers, but for the city of Oldsmar. And that's what the award's all about.
Right.
Thank you. It is a great award. It's something that, as the vice mayor said, is awarded by the employees for the employees. And I don't know how many of you worked in the corporate world, but that doesn't happen a lot. And it's a great thing. It's kind of a cutthroat world that we're living in now. And to be able to be rewarded by your own employees and your own coworkers, that's a great honor. Some of the criteria that go into the nomination: outstanding leadership skills, striving towards a goal or accomplishment, good representative of the city, exceeding expectations, going above the call of duty, showing a positive attitude and a willingness to assist, someone who has impacted you in a helpful or positive way. And this quarter's award, if he can come up, James Huggins. What happens in the nomination is somebody nominates you, and then they give a lot of the reasons as to why you might want to be nominated. Aren't you supposed to be working right now? Okay. You got the phone. You'll find out when I read why he was nominated. Jim Huggins works the second shift from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. at the Water Reclamation Facility, WRF. He's the only wastewater operator staffed during this shift, and for over 10 years before the RO plant opened, he was the only public works employee on duty after 6 p.m. His primary responsibility is monitoring and maintaining the WRF and the related lift stations, of which the vice mayor knows where they all are. During these hours, being at 4:30 after the utility building closes, all calls concerning water, sewage, reclaimed water, stormwater, streets, and most everything else are transferred to the WRF. And the everything else I'm about to get to. It goes to him for the after hours. On the city's website, Jim is required to respond. Jim coordinates with the late shift meter reader to respond to water leaks, water turn-ons, offs, sewer clogs, electrical, pump problems at the lift stations. After 6:30, Jim becomes the main point of contact for all residents' calls. The calls respond to include many outside his normal responsibilities. Some examples of past calls are removing a mattress from Tampa Road, picking up animal carcasses from the residential roads, cleaning up glass in the roads after an accident, replacing down street signs, cleaning fuel spills from car accidents, fallen trees, and many, many more. Jim is well versed in the city's policy and procedures and always responds in a positive and professional manner. Jim's willingness to address the issues well outside his job duties and his efforts in maintaining a positive model image for the city with its residents is why he is deserving of this award. This is the Homer Brunson Ward Schrecengost Governmental Award presented to James Huggins for his outstanding service, dedication, and leadership to the City of Oldsmar, 2012 fourth quarter. It comes with a check, and it also comes with an extra day off, which was yesterday. No. Congratulations.
All right, thank you, sir.
You want to say something? Sure, go ahead.
Try not to throw your queen-size mattresses out on the floor. When you're out there by yourself, you got to bear hug it, and they're not new. All right,
Good for you. Oh, wait.
It's a 4-prong award.
Hold it up. Hold it up.
Y'all may not appreciate what his job is, but if he didn't do his job, y'all would be in trouble. I guarantee you, you'd be in trouble.
Congratulations once again. Thank you.
Nice job, Jim. Congratulations. Okay, next up, we've got consider the appointment of Paul Hagler to the planning board. Is Paul here? Come on up, Paul. A couple of years, about 5 or 6 years ago, the council realized that a lot of the people we were nominating on boards, we never knew who they were. So we kind of put it down into law here in the city that we wanted to see and meet the people look them in the eye. And first of all, I want to thank you for wanting to serve on this board. It's a very important board, and I looked over your resume, very impressive, and I think you're going to be a tremendous asset to this board. So I want to personally thank you on behalf of this council for wanting to serve on the board. I don't have any questions. I don't know if the council does. I don't know if you have any questions of us.
I don't have any questions. Again, the reason we do it is I don't believe I've ever met you. I may have seen you at one of the banquets, but again, thanks for your service to the city.
Thank you.
And his longtime service to Pinellas County, for that matter.
Yeah.
Right.
I need a motion to appoint Paul to the board. Got a second?
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we've got the recognition of Jason Schwabe, who's going to be promoted to lieutenant today. So, Jason, Captain. Oh, we're definitely putting her on TV.
His kids are cute, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mayor, Councilman, Mr. Haddock, thank you.
Might not be on.
Again, Mayor, Council, Mr. Haddock, it's my pleasure tonight to recognize one of our firefighters who has been with us almost 12 years now. June will be 12 full years that Jason's been with us. And with some recent retirements and reassignments, we had a promotional process that happened last year. In October, we promoted one lieutenant, and with the retirement of Captain Gabardi, who's also here tonight, Jason Schwabe promoted to lieutenant and is on C shift. And we just had a big shift change. So we've got all new personnel on different shifts. So he's getting into his duties pretty well. He's been around quite a while. Jason's acted as an acting officer for about the last 8 years. He's worked on his education. He's certified as a company officer. He's certified as a fire inspector. He's also certified as a state instructor, requirements for our officers. So tonight we're going to have our official pinning ceremony and allow Jason to pick up that nice gold badge that we kind of covet.
Oh, he gets the pin in there. Good. So he does. Just eat him up. He's so cute.
That is so cute.
Y'all come on up here and take the photos. That's stand.
Yeah, you
back
can come
there.
up here.
Yeah.
He's making sure he gets it just right.
We have paramedics if you poke him.
Did he practice? He did practice.
Oh, couldn't you just eat him up? Both of them. They're so cute.
Nice job.
We do have a new tradition that started about 26 seconds ago that the newest promoted lieutenant takes us to dinner. So.
Sorry, I think the battery's dying. There we go. Thank you.
Why don't you,
Hey. Oh, yeah, Jason will talk. He's not afraid
Hello,
to talk. Go
Brunson.
through with it. Go through with it.
Up here every once in a while, and it never gets any less nerve-wracking.
Oh,
But
you can do it. You always do.
just introduced my family. It's my wife, Amy. Actually, we first met about 500 yards that way in the old station. So if I didn't have this job, we wouldn't have met and had our two wonderful kids. This is Kaden, did the pin-in, and Callie, her 2-year-old.
Dean.
I do have a lot of family in the audience. My mom and dad and my grandfather.
Bring them up.
Yeah, go bring
All right, everybody,
bring
come
them all
on.
up. Come on up.
We'll even give you the DVD.
Yeah. Come on up.
Yes.
Some of my in-laws are here too. This you guys may recognize.
Oh, I
Mike
wondered why
Pills
there
are
were so
here.
many people here
Hey,
today.
how are you?
Okay, you have to introduce all of them, Jason.
Man, I really want to drag this on tonight.
It's a big
This
day.
is my sister, Nikki. Her husband, Chaz. My niece, Shreya. Niece, Jayla. This is Daisha, Amy's sister. This is my mom, Teresa, my dad, Roy. And my grandfather, we've affectionately named Bebop. Back there's my sister-in-law, Beth, and brother-in-law, Andy, with their kids, Sarah and Anthony. So this is just part of the clan, as you can imagine. Birthday parties are hard to get a good venue, so.
We're going to need a bigger chamber if there's more Schwabes around.
So, but yeah, just I'm excited about the opportunity and proud to work here, and like I said, excited for what the future holds. So, looking forward to it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You want to introduce everybody?
Chief,
I'm sorry. Old habit. Sorry.
Congratulations.
Jason. Good job. Chief, you forgot to tell us where he was taking you to dinner.
McDonald's.
All right, next up is the presentation of Severe Weather Week proclamation. I would usually read this, but I'm going to ask Mr. Haddock to read this time.
Whereas Florida Severe Weather Awareness Week is February 11 to 15, 2013, and whereas each year brings the potential for severe weather to the city of Oldsmar, and whereas the city of Oldsmar can be devastated by hurricanes, tornadoes, flooding, straight line winds, and other severe emergencies, and whereas the city of Oldsmar, Florida, Division of Emergency Management, and the National Weather Service have joined together to urge all citizens to prepare for severe weather events and to educate themselves on safety strategies to protect themselves, their families, and their homes. Now, therefore, I, Jim Roniker, Mayor of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, in official recognition of this statewide event, do hereby proclaim the week of February 11 to 15, 2013 as Severe Weather Awareness Week in the City of Oldsmar, and urge everyone in our community to learn more about severe weather preparedness and join this worthy observance. Dated this 5th day of February, 2013, Jim Roniker, Mayor. And
You want to give it?
to the
I don't want to
chief
get
also?
anybody sick, so
Okay.
I'll just get you and Bob sick.
So I'm going to present the proclamation to Chief O'Neill.
Yeah, looking out for your better interest, Chief.
There's 16 days from hurricane season. And we don't think about that, but we start seeing some things on the television and flyers and our website that this next 90 days, 116 days gives us some time to prepare for that. Oldsmar is a storm safe city. We have a very good content program to do emergency management. But the biggest thing is to help a lead that from you when you're prepared for these storms before they get here. So, sorry it's on February 5th, but 116 days from day June 1st. But get prepared and hope for December 1st.
Chief, may I ask you a question? When do you start registering people that are like in wheelchairs and
Special
things like
needs,
that? Yeah, special
Aaron
needs.
Gonzalez, our administrative lieutenant, he's in charge of our special needs. And starting in the end of March, first part of April, we start compiling those lists. He's actually already been out a couple times.
Do that from the
Yeah,
microphone.
do it with the mic, yes, so everybody knows.
Aaron Gonzalez, our administrative lieutenant, he's in charge of our special needs. And starting in April, he starts finishing up the review of the list. He's actually contacted several folks. We have right now about 26 people on our special needs list. He contacts them after the first year and then verifies their information in April and May. We start doing the same thing for our employees in May, for the city employees, making sure they're prepared for the season as well. June 1st, it kicks off.
Can I ask a follow-up question? I'm sorry, Rita.
Sure.
How does that work? I mean, how does the word get out? How, like for instance, in my neighborhood, Bay Arbor, how would somebody know that there are special needs, or would you know that we may have somebody that wasn't last time that might be this time?
A lot of the folks who are actually special needs contact us or contact the county. The county gives them an air phone number to contact them individually to make sure they're on a registry. We also put that information on our website, and we'll scroll it through some of the television commercials as well.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
It is on our website.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chief.
Oh, I just wanted everybody to know that, that's why I asked.
All right, next up, we've got the presentation by the Tampa Bay Estuary Program on Nitrogen Management. Mr. Vanek.
Well, it's been about a year since we had the last in-person update from the Tampa Bay Estuary Program. And so this evening, Lindsay Cross is here to give an update to the council on the program, and she is with the Tampa Bay Estuary Program.
That's right. Well, thank you for inviting me here to speak with you about a project called Integrating Nitrogen Management into Planning. And I know Councilmember Miller, I believe you were at the council meeting where Suzanne Cooper delivered this presentation. And I just wanted to first start by saying that this is a really beautiful building you have here. I haven't been here before, and I'm impressed with a lot of the environmental aspects that I've seen incorporated to it. So well done with that. So
Thank you.
I will begin the presentation. Okay. So just a brief history. I know that many of you have been in this area for a long time. Maybe some of you know the way Tampa Bay used to look. Back in the 1970s, we refer to it as the bad old days. It was not a beautiful place to be. There was certainly beautiful aspects, but the water quality in Tampa Bay had certainly deteriorated. There's some pictures here that show that there were large algal mats that would smother parts of vegetation. These pictures are from Hillsborough Bay up near Bayshore Boulevard. There was really bad water pollution that was coming into the bay, and it was leading to these really large algae blooms that smothered out a lot of the sea life. The reasons for the bay's decline were from various different things that happen with growth and development. There was poorly treated sewage that was being dumped into the bay. There was a lot of dredging and filling that didn't have the same type of regulations that we have now. There was a lot of stormwater runoff and other industrial discharges that were being sent into our water bodies without a lot of treatment. And the common pollutant in all of those sources is nitrogen, which of course you know nitrogen is something that you need for plants to grow, but in excess it causes algae growth to occur. The Tampa Bay Estuary Program has a priority of working with partners to reduce nitrogen inputs to Tampa Bay in order to improve water quality and to restore seagrasses. Seagrasses are an important habitat that supports fish, manatees, turtles. It also helps to stabilize sediments. It provides oxygen, but it needs a lot of light to grow, just like land plants. So when there's a lot of algae in the water, there's not enough light to get down to the seagrasses and experiences die-offs. So we kind of work in reverse. We know that if we want seagrass, we need to have good water quality and good water clarity, and that means we need to reduce nitrogen that's getting into our water bodies. In 1996, the Tampa Bay Estuary Program worked with partners from around the region to develop a group called the Tampa Bay Nitrogen Management Consortium. The city of Oldsmar is a member of the consortium, and it's made up of more than 45 different entities from both public and private entities, such as local governments like yourselves, also regulatory agency participants such as the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and then there's also a lot of industry participants such as phosphate industry, mosaic, industries like that, agricultural interests, and also electrical utilities like TECO and Progress Energy. This group recognized that there were water quality issues in Tampa Bay, and to improve them, they needed to work together to collectively reduce the amount of pollution that's going into Tampa Bay. Over about a 12 or 15-year period, these entities collectively have reduced over 950 tons of nitrogen into the bay by doing projects that made sense for their own local interests. Those are projects included things like reducing the amount of discharges from industry, upgrades to sewage treatment plants like the one you may operate here, better improvements in air quality, which is actually a source of water pollution when it falls onto the land or in the water bodies. Things like just better handling of materials at ports to reduce spills, and also stormwater treatment. Also some things that affect your residents, such as educational campaigns to get people to clean up their dog poop, called Scoop the Poop. So all of these projects, over 400 projects implemented, have helped to reduce the nitrogen coming into the bay at a cost of about $760 million. So some pretty significant investments have been made in the water quality of Tampa Bay. As a result of all of these projects, we've seen that the loading of nitrogen to Tampa Bay has reduced significantly by more than half. Back in the 1970s, we can estimate there was about 10,000 tons of nitrogen going into the bay. In the 2000s, it was about 4,500 tons. So we've more than halved the amount of nitrogen going into the bay, all while population was rising. And what's interesting is that the sources of these nitrogen have also changed. Back in the 1970s, things like sewage treatment plants were one of the main offenders, but with regulations such as the Grizzle-Fig Act and improved stormwater treatment, we've seen a reduction of some of those point sources. Now where our attention lies is in non-point sources, which includes primarily runoff that comes from our roadways, from our residential areas, and also from our agricultural lands. The Estuary Program has a monitoring program in conjunction with its partners to look at how we're doing at meeting goals for water clarity in Tampa Bay. And we divide the bay into these 4 different segments. Essentially, if you have a green year, that means you're doing well and you're meeting your standards for chlorophyll, which is essentially a measurement of the amount of algae in the water. So we don't want a lot of algae in the water. When we do, it can lead to a red period. So you'll see that back in the 70s and the early 80s, we mostly had red years where we were not meeting those standards. Once we started cleaning up our act, so to speak, we saw some yellow and some green years. And in most recent years, for the most part, we're meeting our water quality standards. And in turn, the seagrasses in Tampa Bay have responded. We have a goal of protecting or restoring 38,000 acres of seagrass. And you can see that we're making steady progress in meeting that goal. In 2010, estimates from the Southwest Florida Water Management District were that we were just over 33,000 acres. So we're only about 5,000 acres short of our overall goal, which means that if we continue doing things, working together, we should be able to meet that goal. So here's where the kind of the rubber meets the road. Tampa Bay has a total maximum daily load, also called a TMDL, in place for it. This is essentially a pollutant limit that's allowable for a water body. There's a term called impaired water bodies, which means that a water body is not meeting whatever its designated standard is. So whether it's for drinking water or for recreation, essentially, there's a number that's put on what this maximum daily load is, and if you're exceeding that, then you're out of compliance. So the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the Florida Department of Environmental Protection have been tasked with setting TMDLs for water bodies throughout the U.S. and in the state of Florida for those that may have impairments. And in 1998, the U.S. EPA accepted some reduction goals that the Nitrogen Management Consortium had already done. This is work that the consortium did collectively and voluntarily. As I mentioned, the 400 projects that helped to get us to the point where we are, well, the U.S. EPA recognized the work that had already been done and accepted that those loads and that strategy could meet their requirements as well. In 2008, the U.S. EPA required that the Florida Department of Environmental Protection incorporate these limits into permits. These are permits that your city would receive for stormwater discharge or for operating your wastewater treatment plant, things that industry would also have to comply with. But the Department of Environmental Protection, along with EPA, recognizing the work that had been done by the consortium, allowed that group to collectively come up with allocations for themselves. So essentially, they were given the opportunity to work amongst themselves and kind of divvy up this pie of nitrogen. All this information was developed into a document called the Tampa Bay Reasonable Assurance. It had input from all the partners involved in the consortium, including the city of Largo. It was approved by the US EPA in 2009, and it was approved by the state in 2010. And there was another update that will be due in 2017, I believe. So the implications for you all as city council members and as a mayor are to look at how you can work within your own city boundaries to further reduce nitrogen that's entering into Lake Tarpon, into Old Tampa Bay, ultimately input into all of Tampa Bay. Essentially, the existing regulations require that there is no more nitrogen loading that can be allowed into the bay. So those recognize that the work that's been done has gotten us to improvements, but we can't allow any more nitrogen to come into the bay. So we essentially have a pie, and all the pieces have been given out to all the players around the Tampa Bay. So if someone else new comes in, or if you want to develop someplace within your municipality, there have to be offsets for that. So if you want to add a project that maybe adds 2 tons of nitrogen, you need to find a way to reduce 2 tons someplace else. And maybe that's something that you do by yourself, or maybe that's something that's done with the help of the consortium. So the Tampa Bay management strategy of reducing nitrogen at the level of 17 tons per year has been working so far, but to allow for new growth and development, you have to do better. That's my next slide.
Lindsay?
Yes.
Can everybody get this presentation on your website?
I can find a way to make that available, sure.
And tell what the website is.
It's tbep.org, as in Tampa Bay Estuary Program.org.
Thank you.
So I'll continue. I just have a few more slides. So the challenge for us now is that despite the recession that we've been experiencing, there's still people that want to come to this region. And the One Bay group has estimated that by 2050, the population in the Tampa Bay region could close to double, from about 3.8 million to $7 million. 7 million people.
By
Wish it only cost $7 million.
By 2050?
Those are estimates from 2010. You know, they're updated regularly, but those are some of the estimates that they have. So that means that there's going to be land that's developed to meet those needs, to build subdivisions. There's going to be additional stormwater. There's going to be wastewater treatment growth that's necessary. So we've been kind of in a status quo here in the Tampa Bay region of development. Stormwater treatment ponds are designed so that they can take a large capacity from many different sources. So you'll have a neighborhood with a large centralized pond that will receive runoff from many roadways and many homes. We also have the infrastructure, the curb and gutter structures that are designed to drain land really quickly, but don't really have the goals and objectives of improving water quality. There's also sometimes rigid design standards that preclude developers from doing things that are more innovative, that would allow more treatment of stormwater on site. And some of the sprawl development patterns really favor the complete removal of natural vegetation and then planting it with things that are not native to this natural area. So all of those, with some exceptions, have been the status quo. But if we continue with those practices, we won't be able to meet our water quality standards, and we'll likely see degradations in the bay.
I know. Me too.
But the good news is that there are alternatives. And the Estuary Program and the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council are working to provide information, materials, and education to members within the Tampa Bay region about techniques that can reduce runoff, remove nutrients before it enters water bodies. The Southwest Florida Water Management District is also working on models to kind of test some of these techniques to see how effective they are at reducing different pollutant parameters such as suspended solids or nitrogen, and then also looking at what some of the cost of these different strategies are. So things such as installing a grass swale alongside of a roadway instead of a sidewalk may be an alternative or an addition to something that could allow some of the rainwater to percolate into the ground, down into the aquifer, rather than being sent into a centralized system. So we're looking to provide this information to you in the hopes that there's opportunities in the future when new development or redevelopment occurs, that you can look at some of these different strategies. So one way that could be accomplished is by looking at the current land development codes and seeing which of those may be restrictive or which of those may encourage or at least allow some different green infrastructure practices or things called low impact development. There may be opportunities to look at the parking requirements. Many of our parking areas may be oversized for the actual need of a building, which may mean that we can keep some more natural areas. There's also different pervious surfaces that can be used, a whole host of things. But it is useful to look at what your specific land development codes are and see if they're prohibitive of that or if it can allow different techniques. There's also comprehensive plans. If there's the opportunity to update your comprehensive plan to recognize the importance of reducing nitrogen and improving water quality, then that helps to reemphasize the need to revise land development codes if that's applicable in this municipality. Some other ways that we can help accomplish this is to do things such as adopting the fertilizer ordinance, which I know that you have as part of Pinellas County, but certainly continuing to educate the citizens of the city of Oldsmar about the need to reduce the use of fertilizer that contains nitrogen. When possible, we're looking at opportunities to monitor the effectiveness of those regulations and test it out, see how it's working. There's also ways to cluster development patterns so that we leave some more of the natural landscaping. My aunt lives in East Lake Woodlands, and I've always been impressed that there is some of that native vegetation there, which does allow some treatment of the water there and some percolation of that water into the Florida aquifer. Also, if you're looking at developing your city offices more, there may be opportunities to incorporate some of these strategies as kind of a model for your citizens to show different ways that you can incorporate this into industry or to residential areas, kind of as you have with your the items here in this facility. So just to reiterate, the role of the Tampa Bay Estuary Program and the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council is to talk to councils and commissions about these regulations and try and link it to how you can help going forward with the way you develop or redevelop your lands or expand and grow in the way that fits with your needs. We will continue to provide resources about how to do reviews and revisions of your land development codes or comprehensive plans as appropriate. There's information on the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council website. There's a resources site that has dozens and dozens of resources, and really just continue to have this dialogue with all of you. We're also going to be providing input on a future conference that's going to be organized by Hillsborough County Extension, but we'll have a large audience. It's going to be hosted at the new USF Patel College of Global Sustainability in September, and it's a way to share different techniques and science and research about green infrastructure and water management in growing metropolitan areas. So that would be an opportunity possibly for your staff to come and present or learn information about what's happening in our region and in other parts of the country. And there's my contact information.
Mr. Mayor.
You want to say it first?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'll let you say first.
This is not the presentation I thought it was going to be.
Oh.
And wait a minute, and I was voted for Bear.
Oh.
Now you've taken it all away from that part of it. But I want to tell you something. I know you're not that old. Tampa Bay in 1970 was beautiful.
Okay.
The water was beautiful.
Yes, it was.
The white sand around it was beautiful.
You might want to pull up a chair.
We had a beautiful
I
beach.
apologize. This is not going to be two sentences.
No,
So you come back at me.
You go and tell her.
Let me tell you something. If you people, not you, but if your agencies had listened to this city in 1997, when we had a massive meeting at the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, where everybody from EPA came from Tallahassee, and we were there. The city manager was with us, and the Corps of Engineers was there, and finally admitted that the city of Oldsmar was right. We were the first city. To establish an AWT plant in 1974, while Tampa was still putting all their poop in their part of the bay and ruining it. This part of the bay was fine. We had seagrass everywhere. And then not you, but somebody had a brainstorm to dig the outfall canal and put all that crap from Lake Tarpon down into the front of the city of Oldsmar.
What happened?
At that time, we told, I keep saying you people, I apologize for that, but you represent you people. We told you people what was going to happen, but you didn't listen to us. If you had listened, in fact, we should be at your place giving you a lecture and not you standing here giving us a lecture.
Okay, this is an I told you so thing. So,
This city, this mayor, past mayors, this council, this city manager, you cannot believe what we have done to preserve this part of the bay. Tampa they've always screwed up their part of the bay.
Continue to do it.
And way down yonder, I'm concerned about this part of the bay. It was beautiful. The fellow right over here in the blue shirt, he can tell you he used to go out with a net and just walk out of the beach and throw a net and bring home, I don't know, 50, 60 mullet. As my middle son could go out there, and I kept telling him, quit throwing that stupid net and giving everybody in the city of Oldsmar mullet. This was 1967 and 1968. It was everything. We didn't screw up the bay.
Nope.
We have been fighting for 40 years to keep the bay solvent. It was everybody else. All the regulatory boards that wouldn't listen to anybody. Now you're trying to catch up. That's fine. We're with you. Mayor, I apologize, but I had to say it.
That's okay. Lindsay, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Presentation is excellent. I do have a question.
Sure.
Nice presentation.
When you showed that one graph, I think it started with 1950, when you were comparing the water quality from 1950, and then I think it went to like 1982 or something like that. How did they know what the water quality was in 1950 when they weren't measuring it?
With the red, yellow, and green?
No, I think it was just a green.
That was
bar chart.
seagrass.
Seagrass?
Yeah.
Seagrass, the way we estimate how much seagrass seagrass is by using aerial photographs. So there's techniques for taking photos. We use 1950s because it preceded a lot of the heavy development, but we also had aerial photos that were of good enough quality that you could essentially map areas. And so someone who's trained in that can kind of draw around the areas that are seagrass and then add all of those together to get a cumulative acreage.
And Oldsmar had a ton of seagrass.
Yeah, we did.
All the way around to Mobley Bay. Ton of seagrass.
To the Vice Mayor, the meeting wasn't in 1997, it was in 2003.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
But thank you for the presentation.
You're welcome.
I have a question. I have a question. You said that we're at our limit now as to how much nitrogen can go in. So it's up to us to make sure that more nitrogen isn't added with new development. And
Yes.
in fact, I'd like to know if we're doing it here in this building in our reverse osmosis water treatment plant, I'm wondering if we have it in our.
right outside here.
I'm wondering if we have it in our code, if anything is in our code. But that's a question for staff. So how, it's up to the city not to go over that amount. So it's up to us to make sure that the development and everything doesn't go over that nitrogen amount. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and it's up to all the people who are that live in the watershed who are part of the nitrogen management consortium, because essentially all these players together, even though you work collectively, you each have an allocation that you need to stay within.
So we all
that you
work
can-
together for one nitrogen load. It's not like we have our nitrogen load and Safety Harbor has theirs.
It's a combination of that.
It's all.
You would have your own load. Pinellas County would, TICO would have loads that are included in their permits through DEP.
Right. So Jerry's making a good point. If we're doing things right and we're looking out for it, how do we convince other cities to do the same thing?
I
guess that's your job.
The consortium has made progress, and even though there may have been places like this that didn't experience the declines, the Bay as a whole had some serious issues that needed to
One
be
more time, Mayor.
be resolved.
I apologize, but in 1994, we had 8 miles of dirt streets in the city, 8 miles. And we paved 8 miles of dirt streets in this part of the city. And you know what we used? We used swales. You know why we used swales? Because we didn't want the water going out in the bay. We wanted to percolate right here.
So maybe you need to come on my road show with me and educate some other folks.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
If I could, Mayor, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but although we manage it, we really, I think, default to Swift Mud to monitor through the permitting process. We don't manage the nitrogen, really. Swift Mud.
Right, I was wondering how we did that.
In most of the municipality, I did stormwater engineering for 20-something years and did that. And a lot of it, in Tampa Bay, a lot of the problems happened because there was so much undeveloped pasture land, and the cows and the cow stuff really affected the
You have the dog poop program. Do you have the cow poop program?
Well, and it's funny. I had a development. I was just doing the stormwater design for a 1 million acre warehouse, and they were just afraid that with this new nitrogen program, that they were not going to be able to. They were going to have to do all kinds of this crazy BMP stuff, and it turned out that because it was an old cow pasture, and they were basically capping it. They were capping it with asphalt and things like that. They could just do their regular stormwater, but now the cow stuff was not going to go out into the water body, so they didn't have to do anything.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to get to it, but I got to.
Okay, I didn't know if you knew.
It's not open for the public.
Very nice
but I'm gonna let them
presentation.
speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was just going to add, the city of Tampa just used to discharge raw sewage in the bay until like the 80s.
Yep.
I'm going to ask Mr. Antozzi you got to do it from the mic, though.
Okay.
The only reason I'm letting him speak is he's a longtime resident that happens to know a lot about
He's
science.
the one that catches all the mullet.
He's a marine biologist.
Marine
Bill
biologist.
Antozzi, 509 Shore Drive East. I've lived here for 33 years. I just want to ask a quick question. We've been focusing a lot on phosphates and nitrates, phosphorus and nitrogen, going into the bay. But I haven't heard anything about herbicides. And a lot of the chemical treatments for lawns and plants contain herbicides. And herbicides can have a deleterious effect on seagrass.
Oh, tell them your background.
I was a biologist for the National Marine Fisheries Service, retired now. But I have a suspicion that there's a negative effect because people use a lot of like weed and feed on their lawns. And when it rains out, it all goes right into the bay. And so what does that do to the seagrass? And there's a lot less seagrass here than there was when I moved here 33 years ago. As Jerry said, I have a record of 52 mullet with one throw of my net. But I used to just be able to go out and walk across the street and walk through the seagrass, and the mullet would all start running. And I knew right where they were, and just as they left the seagrass, I'd throw the net on. Now, guess what? There's no seagrass. Now, I know things might be improving in other parts of the bay, but right in my little neck of the woods, it's not. So I was wondering what's being done on herbicide pollution.
Good question.
She's going to have to ask the question to somebody else.
One of the things in one of the common herbicides is atrazine. And it used to be banned in Florida because they knew it had bad effects. But somehow it got put back. It's back in now in the various weed and feeds. It's right in there. Read the label, atrazine. In Europe, it's illegal to use atrazine.
Really? Yes. Interesting.
If you don't know the answer, you can get back to us.
I don't know the exact answer to that. I know that using more native plants that are, developed and tolerate our climate here is preferable to having, non-native plants that require a lot of fertilizer, herbicide, or irrigation. So anytime we can work towards using native plants and some of the Florida-friendly guidelines and adhering to the fertilizer ordinances, then we will make improvements in the bay's water quality.
Thank you very much, Lindsay.
Welcome.
We'll let you off the hook.
Okay.
All right, now we're going to get to City Attorney, Mr. Metz. It's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Items 8 and 9 are considered quasi-judicial procedures. So is anybody here to speak on items 8 and 9? Would you please step forward and I'll swear you in? Nobody else? Okay.
Looks like just staff, which is going to be a good sniper.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 8, I will read by title only, and then staff will give their presentation. Ordinance 2013-01, an ordinance of the City of Oldsmar amending the land use designation on that certain real property described as lots 5 and 6, Phase 1, Tampa Bay Park of Commerce, from county designation of industrial limited to city designation of industrial limited, and providing for an effective date. City staff.
Marie Dauphin, Planning and Redevelopment Director. Techni-Car was annexed into the city in 2012. The property is located at 450 Commerce Boulevard, Tampa Bay Park of Commerce, Phase 1, Lots 5 and 6. The city is initiating this request in order for the property to be consistent with the land use and zoning designations of the city. So the first request, the land use amendment from county designation of industrial limited to city designation of industrial limited, was reviewed against the standards outlined in section 3.14.4 of the Land Development Code, and based on that review, staff is recommending approval of the land use amendment from county designation of industrial limited to city designation of industrial limited. And at the January 9th, 2013 Planning Board meeting, the Planning Board concurred with staff's recommendation. So I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, and if there's any questions, I'll try to answer.
Any questions? This is basically a housekeeping measure, is all this is.
All good.
Any questions for staff? Thank you, Marie. The applicant here, Techni-Car, anybody from Techni-Car? This is a public hearing. Any proponents? Any opponents? Anybody want to just come up and say we're doing a great job tonight? Nobody? I'll close the public forum. I need a motion for ordinance 2013-01. Have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Beverly?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller? Aye. Councilmember Beavis?
Aye.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Mayor Roniker?
Aye.
First reading of ordinance 2013-01 for land use amendment from county designation of industrial limited to city use designation of industrial limited for 450 Commerce Boulevard is passed with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you very much.
Item number 9 is the first reading of ordinance 2013-02. I will read it by title only. an ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, rezoning certain real property described as lots 5 and 6, Phase 1, Tampa Bay Park of Commerce from Pinellas County zoning designation of IPD, Industrial Plan Development District, to the City of Oldsmar zoning designation of M1, Limited Manufacturing District, and providing for the effective date. City staff, please move forward with your presentation.
Okay, the request for the rezoning from the county designation of IPD Industrial Plan Development District to the city zoning designation of M1 Limited Manufacturing District for Techni-Car located at 450 Commerce Boulevard was evaluated against Article 3, Section 3.15.3 of the Land Development Code, and based on that review, staff is recommending approval of the rezoning from the county designation of IPD Industrial Plan Development District to city designation of M1 Limited Manufacturing District. And the planning board met on January 9th, 2013 and concurred with staff's recommendation. So I'd like to enter the staff report into the record at this time.
Marie, any questions for staff? Again, this is just a housekeeping measure. Applicant Techni-Car here. Public hearing, any proponents? Any opponents? Anybody? Close the public hearing. Need a motion for ordinance 2013-02.
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
Got a motion is second. Any discussion? Not, call the roll, please.
Mayor Beaverland?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Aye.
Councilmember Beavis?
Aye.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Mayor Roniker?
Aye.
First reading of ordinance 2013-02, rezoning from county zoning designation of IPD to city zoning designation of M1 for Techni-Car Incorporated located at 450 Commerce Boulevard is passed with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you very much. Those were the easiest 2 Snyder hearings ever. Mr. Metz, item 10.
So we are now done with the quasi-judicial portion of the evening, so we'll move to item number 10, which is the first reading of ordinance 2013-05. I will read it by title only. An ordinance of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, amending sections 2.1 and 5.1.2 of the City of Oldsmar Land Development Code to provide for definitions and to provide a substantial improvement time limit. Amending sections 2.1 and 3.3.3 of the Town Center Development Code to provide for definitions and to provide a substantial improvement time limit and providing for an effective date hereof.
Should this be a public hearing?
Yes.
Second? Okay, because it's not listed on there.
Is it?
No.
Item number 10 is not, no, sir.
It is a public hearing though, right? Or it is not?
It's a public hearing, but it's not quasi-judicial.
Right. Okay, I need a motion for ordinance 2013-05.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Got a motion second. Staff?
Marie Daphne, Planning and Redevelopment Director. In 1971, Oldsmar became part of the National Flood Insurance Program, and as part of that participation in the program, the city agreed to comply with FEMA regulations, specifically with regard to minimum requirements for structures in the special flood hazard area, non-conforming structures. The objective of FEMA is to break the cycle of flooding. Usually non-conforming structures come flooded, at times, and then they need to be repaired or rebuilt, and then the flooding occurs again. So FEMA has found that compliant NFIP structures have 80% less chance of flooding, if they reduce flood losses. So one way a community can achieve a reduction in flood losses through the requirement that improvements to non-conforming structures be tracked over the life of the structure, over the improvements. When the cumulative improvements of the structure exceeds 50% or more of the market value of the structure, then the whole structure must be brought up to FEMA standards. So in Oldsmar, we track these substantial improvements, substantially damaged structures for the life of the structure. But the City Council asked at the last meeting if we would look into reducing that for the life of the structure kind of requirement to some other time frame. So we did research and we found that we could amend the code to require the cumulative substantial improvement tracking to be 10-year time frame as opposed to the life of the structure. And that will not affect our CRS rating.
Wonderful.
So based on this discussion, staff is recommending approval of the text amendment to the Land Development Code and Town Center Code pertaining to substantial improvements, and there's the attached schedule in the packet.
Okay, hold on. Thanks, staff, for making that amendment happen.
Oh, absolutely.
Mayor,
Thank you.
we should call this a Janus code.
The
code, as an owner of a non-conforming structure, which I've owned for 13 years, I live on a little canal, and my house has never, ever flooded. I appreciate that we have the 10-year, but I wanted to point something out for other people that have non-conforming structures, because I didn't even know this, and I have one. It doesn't, the 50% rule doesn't account for, you can take out new air conditioning systems, permit fees, appliances, landscaping, fences, swimming pools, sheds, detached garages, docks, seawalls, and driveways. I didn't know that, and I just put a new AC system in, and I thought, well, there goes another $7,000 on my 50% rule. Well, those are really nice exceptions for those of us that have it. So if anybody out there has one, those are good exceptions. And 10 years is a lot better for those of us that have it, because after 10 years, we can continue to improve our property instead of being forced to tear it down and build something else.
Yes.
So this is wonderful.
It's great, yes.
Any
But
other
I don't
questions for
see
Steph?
where it says 10 years. Am I
It's-
missing something?
It's on
middle.
page,
Toward the middle?
Yep.
Page 38?
it's the last page.
Oh,
It's right before
It's
city
there.
manager stuff.
because I read it and I couldn't find,
It's
It's on page
I have a
41.
quick question
The
while they're
last
hunting.
page.
41?
We'd originally,
44.
It's also on 41.
Okay.
In excess of 50% or more of its assessed value over a
Up or
10-year
down?
period.
Which way, up or down?
You want a motion?
Down.
I already got the motion in a second.
I just have a quick question. I know in our previous discussion, it was said for 15 years, and we had because of the buffer. I mean, are we still fine with that? And even at the 10, we all felt.
So it appears that
Restoration.
right now, the FEMA regulation is 10 years.
Okay.
So unless they change that
Okay, and we can always
restriction.
amend it if
Yeah,
we need
exactly,
to, so. No, that's fine.
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much, Marie. This is also a public hearing. Does anybody from the public wish to address the council on this ordinance? Close the public hearing. I've got a motion, a second. Call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Beaver?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Aye.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Norris?
Yes.
Mayor Ronacher?
Aye.
First reading of ordinance 2013-05, amending certain sections of the Land Development Code and Town Center Code pertaining to substantial improvements is passed with 5 votes for and 0 against.
Thank you very much. Anything else, Mr. Metz?
No, sir, thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. I will go to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item is consider request to waive special event fee for the Armadillo Run, Oldsmar Days, Holiday Sharing Bike Safety Rodeo, and Relay for Life. These are annual events. Included in the agenda packet were applications for each of these 4 sponsoring organizations requesting waiver of the special event fee. If you have any questions or comments, I'd be happy to respond to those. Historically, the city has waived this for each of these 4 annual events.
And I totally support that we continue that tradition. I need a motion to have those 4 entities
So moved.
waived. Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. They're all exempt.
Thank you. Mayor and council, the next item, item 12, is going to be a public hearing on the Wellington Estates Development Agreement. Initially, we will start with a staff presentation. We'll have a presentation by the applicant and then receive comments from the public.
Listen to the presentation.
Mayor, Planning and Redevelopment Director will make the staff presentation.
This is a request for development agreement between the City of Oldsmar and BVK Wellington Estates LLC. And the property is located south of Lafayette Boulevard, generally east of State Street. The request to approve a new development agreement between BVK at Wellington Estates LLC and the City of Oldsmar is to allow the applicant to develop 30 residential lots on 10.76 acres. The property has a zoning designation of planned unit development and a future land use designation of residential low. Under the PUD designation, there are 4 types: RPD, CPD, IPD, and MUPD. And this property is RPD. The reason the applicant is requesting is going to develop it under the PUD concept is to allow him to have flexibility of design and placement of the units within the development. The lots in the development will be a minimum of 65 by 120 feet and a maximum building height of 35 feet. And I guess the salient portions of the development agreement include, first, the owner has agreed to construct the State Street extension in accordance with the State Street construction plans, the gravity sewer line, in accordance with the gravity sewer line construction plans, and install reclaimed water lines in consideration of the city who will provide the owner transportation and sewer wastewater impact fee credits. And the city will also contribute toward the overall construction costs of the State Street extension. The owner is also required to track the property, and this agreement is valid for a period of 5 years. So based on this discussion, staff is recommending the City Council approve the development agreement with BVK Wellington Estates, LLC, in accordance with Article 14, Section 14.7, Development Agreements of the Land Development Code. And on the December 12th, 2012 Planning Board meeting, the Planning Board concurred with staff's recommendation. However, there was a stipulation that the agreement indicate a 35-foot buffer be required between the existing home along Lafayette Boulevard and the development.
Okay.
And if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them.
That was staff recommending that 35-foot buffer, or?
Staff does not believe that it's necessary. This is single family abutting single family. So if it was not a PUD, if it was just another development, a single family development, we wouldn't require that,
What would the
35
buffer
foot.
be?
It would be 10 feet.
10 feet? Okay. So your recommendation is to approve it with a 10-foot buffer?
20 foot is shown on the
20
proposed
foot,
site.
okay.
Yeah, the 20-foot, but
35 might be a little
rather than
excessive. 20 is better than 10.
And it's single family abutting single family. It's not like it's multifamily or another use. And in the landscaping code, there really isn't a requirement for like uses to have that separation.
Okay. Any questions for staff? We might have to get back to you, because I think we've got some people from the public that want to address the council. Yes? Come on up. I'll give you 3 minutes each.
Concerning this issue or something?
This is on this issue. Yeah.
Denise Bennett, 251 Lafayette Boulevard, and I'd like to address the proposed 20-foot buffer. According to both Florida statute and the Oldsmar Code, the development agreement must comply with the comprehensive plan and the provisions of the Land Development Code. Under an RPD, the code states that the buffer shall be a minimum of 35 feet. And it doesn't say oughta, or coulda, or shoulda. It says shall, and shall is defined as mandatory. And we are requesting this 35-foot buffer. Everybody discussed it last May when another development agreement was before you, and it was called required, and it was promised to us, and that's all we're requesting. There are other issues that aren't consistent with an RPD. For example, they're supposed to be 75-foot wide lots. They're proposed at 65-foot. The lot coverages are very high. Up to 83% of a lot could be covered. So this isn't consistent with our neighborhoods. We barely cover 20% of a lot. And I just feel we need this buffer between us for a better transition. It is required. And it seems they would have to get a variance to do anything else. And I'm sure you're concerned with following the code just as we are, and we're hoping that you listen to us and work with us. We're giving up a lot of other things about lot size, setbacks, and coverage percentages, and this is all we're asking for. It's a simple request. It's not unreasonable. I moved to this area of Oldsmar to be away from subdivisions and these types of developments, so I certainly need this buffer and request that you see fit to put it on the site plan. And we have talked to council, and there are legal remedies to this. We really want the 35 feet. We're not asking for much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Marie, can I have you address the 35 feet? Can you address her concerns? Where she was saying,
I'm confused. You said 10 and she says 35. Which
Well,
is
if it was not a
Wasn't
PUD,
PUD.
if it wasn't a, RPD, if it was just a single family development,
If it was, okay, so an
10-foot rear yard setback.
It's 10 foot, but she said that it's in the code as an RPD that it has to be 35, so I'm confused.
That's one of the regulations, but in the past, council has approved variances for.
So we'd be granting them a variance, in other words?
Mhm.
Okay.
There was another section of the code that.
Granting who a variance? The developer or the
the whole
neighbors?
site
We're
plan.
granting the
And that
developer
could-
a variance on that.
That would be part of the development agreement. You would include that in the development agreement.
Okay.
The town center code also has a plan unit development requirement. But in the town center, there's no requirement for the buffer. So a code amendment could be approved or adopted by the council to be consistent with the town center code and the plan unit development regulations. Because right now we have two conflicting, or no, they're really not consistent. So that would be another option.
So again, if he was not coming in with an RPD, he could go to a 10-foot buffer and still basically do the similar type of a development. Is that correct?
He could do an R1,
Right.
which would not be a subdivision. That would be a 10-foot rear yard setback, 7.5 side, 25 in the front.
Okay.
The only problem with that is you have to have an 8,700 square foot lot, and I believe there's 7,500 square feet according to. So he might lose a couple of lots.
But we're not in fact going to the 10, we're going to 20 as
Yes.
opposed to the 10.
Yes.
But it's not a subdivision to subdivision, it's an RPD to subdivision, so Denise has a good point. 35 foot is what's in the code, right? I'm confused.
No, that's one of the requirements of the RPD regulations, correct. But as I said, the council has granted variances in the past. It would be totally up to the council.
Okay. I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Thanks. Still a public hearing. Anybody else from the public want to just, yes, sir. Then I'm going to ask the developer to answer some questions.
Hi, Dave Kirchestner, 257 Lafayette Boulevard, and we were already up here several times about different agreements that were reached for behind our homes. One of the lots that I have back there would actually abut that on two sides, both the back and the side of that. And, we discussed about the trees and preserving the area. And so we're really hoping that 35 foot that we had talked about in prior agreements would be met on this one as well. The homes are a different style than our homes. The lots are obviously smaller. The homes are going to be pretty large based on the proposed plan that they have. And so we're asking that you would consider our 35-foot request that we had already spoke of in the prior agreement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public? Yes, sir.
Bob Baker, 241 Lafayette Boulevard. I'm just letting you know, D speaks for all of us. I'm letting you know there's numbers here. And is there any process for a variance? Do they have to start with the planning board again, or do you just grant variances willy-nilly?
This is the first of two public meetings, so it's my understanding that the second public meeting, there will include a variance application.
Okay, so, all right.
The second reading would be on February 19th at 7 p.m.
All right, and I'll speak more at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Deborah Baker, 241 Lafayette. I agree with everything they said.
Okay, thank you very much. The developer?
I got a question for,
excuse me.
Hang in there a minute. The other, when we talked about this before, what was the buffer then? It wasn't 35 feet.
It wasn't 35 feet, and then it was also like some villas, et cetera.
It was 20 foot, right?
I thought it was 30.
Yeah. No.
No. All right.
I'll have to check.
Good check, and we can talk about that in the second reading. But I'd like to hear from
They
the
were
developer.
different types of units. They were like villas or attached or a little bit of, different. They weren't just single family.
Okay. Yes, sir. And maybe you can start out by addressing if the 35 feet is feasible for your project or not.
Because it's 20 now, right? So we're talking about 15 feet here. Okay, got it.
Good evening. My name is Pete Pensa. I'm a certified planner with Avid Group. We're the planners and engineers in the project. With me tonight is Rick Jodre, who is a professional engineer and the engineer of record on the project as well. Unfortunately, the applicant, Chris, wasn't able to be with us tonight. He had a medical issue, so he's in the hospital with a kidney stone problem.
Gosh.
So he apologized for not being able to be here tonight. The project is definitely compatible with the neighborhood. It's a single family to single family product as opposed to the previous proposal on this property, which was a attached townhome or villa project. It is a different type. I would speculate that the code contemplated multifamily. If you look at the section right above it, it's the same section, but the paragraphs above it, it's talking about multifamily and compatibility related to that. This is a single family. One of the advantages of an RPD zoning district is the ability to do something innovative, different, more compatible, thinking outside the box of the norm. As a single family subdivision, like the 6 lots that are, or 7 lots that are abutting this property and others throughout the city, they were designed under standard zoning requirements. And in those cases, as Marie pointed out in her presentation, would have, depending on the type of single family lot, either would have had a 5-foot buffer or a 10-foot buffer if it was a higher density against a real low estate lot type density. None of them require 35 under regular zoning districts. They'd be looking at 10 foot at most. We proposed 20-foot buffer on ours. It would be preserving the existing native vegetation. Obviously, if there's exotics, we need to remove those as you would want us to, and we actually be required to. We would only be clearing to the extent that we need to grade in order to address proper drainage so we don't have adverse impacts on the neighbors. And that would be through a swale system, which is obviously positive for the community. And if there is any areas that would be thinned out in that process, or if they're thin already, we would be supplementing those as needed to provide the appropriate buffer. So it would not be an issue. Regarding the lot width, the RPD contemplates 75-foot wide lots by 100-foot deep. We're proposing 65-foot by 120, and that's a typical lot size. Some of them will be significantly deeper than that. That extra depth provides compatibility from adjoining properties. The only residential properties are those on the north end, and those are deeper lots. We would be providing compatibility through that measure as well. The other thing is that with the RPD, the project's held to a higher standard than a standard conventional zoning district. We've got to provide 20% recreation area. We've got to provide 40% open space. Those provisions, by providing more common area, more area that provides for recreation and ability for stormwater to naturally percolate in those areas before getting into the engineered master stormwater system, provides a benefit to the community, to the neighbors, to the city as a whole. And because of those additional requirements, it basically takes 40% of the project area off the table. That's why the RPD standards do clustering of lots. That's why they're done that way, but it is still a compatible housing type for that area. So we feel that it is compatible with what we have proposed. We are providing a good solid visual screen from the neighbors. As Marie had speculated in her comment, she's correct that if a 35-foot buffer would have an adverse impact based on the geometry of the site, there would be a loss of units in order to accommodate that. So we would like to have it on the record that it would have an adverse impact on the financial feasibility of the project. With that, obviously, I think we've addressed the compatibility. In addition, the major substance of the development agreement, obviously, is the extension of State Street and water and sewer reclaimed service to the area, which is a positive for the community as a whole. But the applicant is obviously looking forward to the ability to work with the city on constructing those improvements and providing that benefit both to the city and to the future residents that will be living in this development.
What is the buffer going to be?
It'd be 20 foot. It would be left in a natural state except for any area that would need to be modified in order to provide for grading. And in that case, it would be swaled through that area and leveled so that it wouldn't have an adverse impact on the neighbors from a drainage perspective. Okay.
And are we talking about just the area between their homes on Lafayette and the lots that butt up against those, or all the way around?
Just to Lafayette.
It's just
So we're
Lafayette.
talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 home sites.
Correct. There's 5
So
homes.
giving them 15 more feet times 5 is going to cause you to lose units.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Correct.
Councilmember Miller.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yes. Is it feasible then for those houses that butt up to them to have 35 or maybe 30 feet buffer? Can these houses still have a pool? I mean, when you're paying that much money, I would imagine you're gonna have a pool in most of them. And so they're here on Lafayette, you're here. So these houses how many are houses?
There's
are
five,
there?
there's a picture, Janice, on page 84.
I don't have my glasses on. Anyway, is it feasible to shorten those lots and leave the other ones on the other side and in the front the same? Can you just accommodate those 5 houses?
Yeah, that's what I asked.
It's difficult to do it because in order to shift that, we would have to further reduce the lot width on the remaining lots throughout the development. Because obviously if you push in one direction, you have to compress somewhere else.
How much? I mean, I don't see for 5 lots at one end, I don't. What page?
84. Can I ask a question? Sure. While she's looking, and I don't know if it's a Marie question or what. I mean, we're talking about a buffer, but then in addition to that, there's also setback requirements to have the building envelope, from the front, from the back, from the sides. In the rear, what would the additional setback be for any structure or thing like that?
I can't tell from this.
Yeah, the normal setback would be 10 feet for accessory structures like a pool or a bird cage.
So you have the buffer, and then you still have an additional 10 feet of setback that they couldn't do within that as well. I mean, you can't. It's not like right at the buffer there's going to be a structure standing there.
Yes, there could be.
Right at the buffer?
Yeah, buffers and setbacks overlap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the buffer is
So the
more
buffer is
restricted.
part of their lot and part of the, okay.
Correct.
So the percentage of the structure to the land, I think Denise said something about theirs is only about 20%, and your homes are going to be about 80%. Is that correct?
I don't know where that number came from. I'm not really sure. As I mentioned, we've got to do 40% open space. Obviously, 83%
No, I mean on
is
each
impossible.
individual lot. On each individual lot.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where that
How
number
large
came from.
are the average homes?
Where do they meet, Jerry?
Rick, do you remember?
Where do they meet? Here?
Yeah, it would really depend on the footprint.
Isn't this?
I apologize. I can't remember off the top of my head what size.
I'm just wondering where she came up with.
Rick Joe Dre from Avid.
Right.
The bottom line is any lot in the entire city could be built out wall to wall to the setbacks. But
Yeah, that's
nobody
true.
does that. I mean, nobody builds their house all the way back to 20 foot on the sides and the rear and the back and all that.
Right.
It would be developed like any other subdivision is.
So each
Okay.
model would just depend on whether it was a 1-story or 2-story, or how many
These
square
are,
footage.
these, as far as I know from MI, they're going to be 2-story homes.
All of them?
I think they're all going to be 2 stories. Okay, they're shallower than they are wide. The problem with real thin lots, they tend to get really deep.
Right.
Okay, the average home that I'm aware of is not going to be any deeper than between 50 and 60 feet. Okay, so it's very unlikely that if you came off that 20 feet, the next 20 feet would only be accessory use. 30 feet would only be accessory use. Somebody wants a shed or they want a pool, that might go up to that 20 foot, but the house would not even come close to that 20 foot.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have one. I just have one. You don't have to, could they live with 25?
No, you said it wasn't feasible.
They want 35, we're giving it.
No, I'm asking him, not them. Could there be a 25-foot buffer?
We would have to look at it. I'd have to get back to you at the next
If
hearing.
you would.
We'll look at that and give you an answer at the next hearing.
Thank you.
So I'm going to look for the motion for staff's recommendation, which is right now at 20 feet, but there's a second reading on February 19th at 7 PM where we can discuss the setback further, and then we'll have your answers better. So I got the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion second. All those in favor? Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
No.
Oh, you were a no?
No, it
But
doesn't.
no.
You were a no? Motion carries 4-1.
No.
3 to 2.
3 to 2.
Motion carries 3-2.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Item 13, consider approval of the design and commission Saenger Milo Incorporated to design, construct, and install public art project at 510 St. Petersburg Drive East. This property is owned by the Community Redevelopment Agency, commonly known as the Beamworks Building. I'd like to ask our Leisure Services Director, Ben Reeves, to give you a little more background on the project.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Lynn Reeves, Leisure Service Director. This project has been discussed for several months at the Leisure Services Advisory Board. Project started out as a mural on this building to kind of spruce it up a little bit because it's going to be there for a few years. Then one of the, actually it was one of the team members brought a suggestion to talk to Saenger Milo about a possible other option, a tile option, something that we could move if the building's torn down in the future, something that we could take and put on another building somewhere in the city.
Yeah, we've already been through that.
We invited Robin, who's here tonight, who will speak to you a little more about it, to the several meetings. A lot of discussion was held, and the presentation that she's going to make tonight is what was recommended by the Leisure Service Advisory Board.
Okay.
Okay. And this is Robin Sanger.
Hi, Robin.
These are my bells and whistles. Good evening, Council, Mayor, City Manager. I'm Robin Saenger with Saenger Milo, 36 Ada Street, Tarpon Springs, Florida, and I'm here tonight to seek your approval for this proposed public artwork at the St. Petersburg Street address that you have listed. The idea for this is to do the project in components so that right now the building is occupied by is it a lawn service or a private company is in the building now and has a long-term lease, and my understanding is has renewed their lease, but at some point in the future the building might be torn down. So this was designed as you see it for a couple of reasons. One is that it's done in modules so that when the building is 76 feet long and about 32 and 8 inches tall, so that when you see it as a unit, it makes sense. The idea is you're looking at a scene of the road of Oldsmar, starting with the 1903 runabout, going up, highlighting the 1901 runabout, highlighting the recreation opportunities in the city, and then of course the wildlife. The armadillo, I understand, has a near and dear.
Oh, it does. No, don't bring the armadillo up.
Armadillo has a near and dear place, and so they requested that the armadillo be in it. And of course, we have a bird poised to hunt, the dolphin with the water features, and so forth. So basically, it's a very whimsical, very bright, very colorful, and very visible. Since this can be seen from Tampa Road as well as from all throughout that end of this corridor. The project is also en route to the library, so I thought that something that would appeal to children, be very colorful and bright, would be appealing. And should the building ever be demolished, these are going to be attached via standoffs so that they can be taken down. And for example, the water bird who's sitting on that loop could be put on a city building somewhere. They could be basically reconfigured. The material is going to be a nice gauge aluminum and will be powder coated. These are the samples that I brought. Powder coating is very durable. Just to show you a variety of some of the colors that are available. And the idea is to have a base color of powder coating, very bright, and then on top of that would be hand detailed in the color representation you see here. You see the spiral motif. So it might be spirals, it might be something. As the project develops, it will decide itself. But these are the directions that I'm thinking at this point. And then on top of that would be hand painted with automotive paints details. The project would have a UV finish on it and clear coat, so for durability. And there you have it.
You don't have anything we could actually see that you've done other than
Oh, are there
Wrong? I
not
mean, I'm not
pictures,
saying-
are there not pictures in your packet?
Well, the pictures
looks
are
like-
just like that, and
yeah.
I'm real relieved to see that it's gonna be metal, because when I saw these, I was like, okay, I'm an art major and I shouldn't be criticizing, but it looked to me like it was gonna be painted on the wall, and I thought, I don't know about this, but it's gonna be metal, like sculpture items that are gonna be attached to the wall?
Probably panels, like.
Well, if
Yeah,
we're,
I have a hard time spending
That's-
$24,750
if we're going to have a
without seeing
discussion,
anything.
Yeah.
our discussion is going to be right now, I'm going to vote against this.
I am too.
You know, it's fine. If it was in the library, it'd be great. If it was on Clearwater Beach, it would be great. This, to me, this does not represent, now, it represents the young people, and I have a problem with that. But to me, this does not represent the city of Oldsmar. This is, and I know you do great work. This is not a criticism of the work. This is criticism of, it doesn't represent the city of Oldsmar. I mean,
The
an
original,
I would
an
love to
armadillo
see
is-
something other than a drawing like this,
I
because
am
this
going
drawing
to-
is not doing
You
it
have
any
this in your
justice.
packet?
No,
We have that, all we have is that, and
but it's in worse shape.
it,
I mean, frankly, and I don't mean to demean this, but it looks like my 9-year-old daughter drew it.
Yeah,
I'm
see,
not
this-
spending
That's the whole
$24,000.
idea.
No,
Well, I'm not doing
wait.
that.
no, I did
That's the-
include
wait,
some
whoa,
other.
whoa, whoa,
all
whoa.
we got.
Okay.
Wait a minute, this is the idea for a library or something that's for the youngest. I want something here that represents the city of Oldsmar as it is, and not in comic fashion. I'm not criticizing the work, I'm criticizing that I don't want
The
that
idea.
to represent the city of Oldsmar.
You were looking for something more historical in nature?
Well, no,
I would like to see that.
That wouldn't be bad, but it,
I thought this would be included in your packet along with some other.
So it's made out of aluminum.
Yes.
Oh, see, that's a lot
I'll tell you
nicer.
right now, on this one, I'm voting against it.
I'm in agreement with you.
can I ask a question?
Certainly.
Do you guys want to see this? Because this
Yeah.
actually is a lot nicer than the pictures, because the pictures don't do it justice at all.
Yeah, obviously.
Just don't know if it fits right there in that particular part of the city with the nice library there. We're gonna have that.
Well, but look, I see that you have a list of other projects. Do you have any other projects in any other cities that are similar to this metal art?
There's a project in Clearwater at Unity Church of Clearwater that is 20.
Clearwater is not Oldsmar.
No, but it's for a church as well, so
Could
it's
see
not.
some of the art instead of just the drawings that we have.
I don't need to look at it.
Can I?
Okay,
Yeah.
didn't you give me the floor?
you weren't saying anything.
Well, somebody else was talking. Wasn't this decided upon by the arts and the recreation board?
Leisure services.
Leisure, whatever.
This is one they chose.
They were the one that
Parks and
recommended it.
This was the discussion, the conceptual design, the things that are in it were brought up by the Leisure Services Advisory Board. Robin came with different designs a couple different times.
She can do anything.
And what they did was, well, one person wanted an armadillo, one person wanted bicycles, another person wanted mullet.
52 of them.
So the group came with the consensus, and they wanted it like a road flowing through the city at that area. So that's how it was, the design or the concept came up with.
You sure you guys want this? Yeah.
No.
It's up to the.
It's what the
it's up to
council
the-
wants.
Right.
It's what the council wants.
We got the minutes from the Leisure Services Board, so, we know who said what.
I know, but
But I mean, that's one of the purposes of having a leisure services board, is to come up with ideas like this for us.
And usually they come up with good ideas. On this one, I just disagree. I mean,
Well, but did you see it as metal instead of as a?
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't think it fits in over there. I don't like it.
Idea was to
Doesn't
do a
represent our
historical
image.
mural, to do something very historical, which, historical murals have their place. To me, this is an opportunity to do something that was much more colorful. I mean, on my way here today, I saw the BMX bicycles going. I see a lot of liveliness in the city, and hopefully this corridor is going to become more lively. You'll see more young families moving into the area, and I think this is very appropriate for a growing city. So it's not a historical mural, but it is something that I think would
It
be
doesn't have to be
appreciated.
historical, but it doesn't have to be comical.
You want to just,
Yeah, I have a question. I don't know if Lynn answers this or if it was a part of the board, but
Comical.
what was the process or how did we determine because I mean, I would venture to say that the majority of the city has no idea that we own the Steamworks building. And I guess I have a problem to some extent, not talking about even the product, but doing something that could be temporary, and it's on a building that people don't really know that it's a city building. And I just wonder how this whole thing, the process happened, that we picked this type of a thing that, as opposed to, the brass dude sitting out on the bench out here or something that could, I mean, we have so many public park areas or areas that it could be and could be permanent. It doesn't have to go on a building that we're going to tear down.
Well, the discussion started, and it was something that I personally brought to the advisory board about a mural, a painted mural. And as the discussion went on, as I said, Cassidy Fitzpatrick, who was a member of the board as a non-voting member, brought up at a meeting that, we should do something tile or something of this nature and attach it to the building so we could try to take it off. And she brought some information from Robin to a meeting, and we invited her to the meeting. And through that discussion, we went from tile to this concept. And as I said, the selection process of what's on that depiction is pretty much what the board asked for.
And I guess my follow-up to that is, in one breath, we're saying we're going to put art on the side of the building, but in the next breath, we're already talking about taking it off.
Building down.
And
No.
I know, and I understand, but if the Beamwork building goes away in 2 years, that we come up with something, where are we going to put it? And if wherever that place is, why don't we just put it there now?
That's a good question.
I mean, if it's going to be moved at some point, why don't we just find the place so we don't have to move it?
where would we put
Saying
it?
because it's in a good place
I'm not even
visibly
saying that I necessarily agree
temporary.
with the thing, but I just don't, I'm not a big fan of
The reasoning?
the whole temporary art on a building that's going to get torn down and.
Well, you go down St. Pete Drive currently, it looks pretty barren now that we've torn down Mickey's Peanuts and something. It was just something to try to enhance
I
the area.
understand that. I mean.
And the thought process was, okay, we enhance this building. If the building's torn down in 3 or 4 or 5 years, whenever it is, then we would be able to relocate the art, not like the mural on the back of the old council chambers. We couldn't relocate that.
Right.
So that was the concept, to try to provide something that was relocatable to some other building in the
Why would
city.
you want to relocate this where?
That's what I don't.
It could be done in segments. In other words, so the dolphin in the water could be put on the RO front, on the RO building, water building. It could be put in a city park building, on the front of a library, basically any city-owned building. Each piece of this could be a standalone.
But to me, then, that just kind of disrupts the whole theme of because I mean, I assume we're doing this because it all works in harmony, but then all of a sudden we're turning them into orphans and we're putting the dolphin over here and the bike's going over here and.
Well, it was actually designed with both things in mind, with the idea that the eventuality, the truth might be that it might be taken down, and would these be standalone pieces? And to my mind, yes, they could be standalone pieces and enhance several buildings throughout the city. But they work very harmoniously as a whole unit as well, on this 76-foot wall.
Well, as a devil's advocate, couldn't you put, like she said, put the dolphin on the, we're throwing this out there now, don't jump on me. We could put the dolphin on the RO building, we could put the mullet maybe there too, you could put the kayak guy at the boat ramp, you could put the bicycle at the BMX. I mean, you could.
Not for
Seems like there's such an easier way to spend 24,000
Yes.
square feet. I mean, I would recommend, let's talk to Bruce, I would recommend under the art program, we buy the 1949 REO fire truck that we're gonna talk about in a few items. I would consider that art.
Yes.
That's
I
not,
would.
but
I would
that's
too.
different. I actually now that it's metal and it is fun and young, we have a lot of historical stuff in this city. I mean, we really do live up the historical nature of our city. So this is kind of young and fun and colorful, and since
It
it's
is,
going to
it's
be
beautiful.
metal and it's just we need to see better depictions. I like it now.
Well, I want to,
Well, I need a motion, or if anybody else has any questions, any other questions.
yeah, ask for a motion.
Okay, I need a motion. I have a motion and a second
For what?
What's the motion?
to
To approve
approve
it?
the commission. Well, we can vote it down. I mean, I need the motion so we can go
Yeah, it has to
further.
be a positive motion.
Right, exactly. So I've got the motion. Did I have a second?
I move. I like it.
I've already moved. So second it.
Oh, second.
Any other discussion?
I'm just not a fan of the building.
Am I?
call
The
for
building
the
and the whole concept of
He's
being
calling the
a
question.
temporary.
Okay, all in favor?
No,
I like it.
Yeah.
no,
Opposed?
Yeah,
No?
no.
So motion fails 3-2.
So what are we going to do now? Do something.
Just not gonna
We
do
have to
that.
have art.
Well, we've got to do something, we know that.
Yeah, we got to do something.
And I can't think of a better person to do it.
And I don't question,
She's a pro.
I'm just not a fan of the location and it's not a really attractive building. You know, it's not even a
It's the
true city building.
Even if it was the right building, it's the wrong art.
Yeah, I don't think it, I don't know.
That's why we have an art advisory committee for them to give us ideas into.
And they've done great jobs, as the mayor has said.
They certainly have.
They certainly have.
In the past.
Sorry.
Let me ask you
By the
one
way,
question.
I was not an art major, but I am an art dealer.
Yes.
How about if they come up with a different project for us with the same theme, but with things that you like better?
Why the same theme?
The same kind of artsy metal stuff, fun, colorful,
No,
fun stuff for a old city.
Then you said it wrong. Not the same theme.
Oh, yeah, no,
but-
that's correct.
Okay.
How about a big metal kid with balloons in the park,
The same
you know?
type of artwork
Stuff like that.
with
Artwork.
different themes.
Alexander Calder, I love his art.
Okay, so the same kind of artwork, metal, fun, colorful, but different themes of the artwork. How about that?
That's what I was saying.
Can we ask them to do that?
Anything, right?
Anyway,
Mr. Haddock wanted to say something.
this is not the night for it now.
Sounds like a big metal kid.
This is fun and nice and young.
Well, I think
Okay,
that
Can we?
you've given some things that you liked and didn't like
Direction.
about it.
Yeah.
And I would think the Leisure Services Advisory Board could continue to work with Saenger Milo if y'all are okay with that part of it.
Yes, I like it.
Problem with that.
Absolutely.
My other question is whether or not you want them to look at one or more, or in other words, I've heard at least one council member say they didn't like the location, putting it on this building.
Yeah.
So my question is, should they just forget about that location, or is that still in the running?
No, I would try to
say
put it in
forget
the
about
parks.
it.
If they come up with a better location.
I would rather have it in someplace where it can be.
In a park or something.
In a park.
Yeah.
The only thing with parks are, sabotage.
I think that
Or some, we have other
it's
city
still,
buildings.
okay.
How about out here somewhere? We don't have a council chamber thing building
Well,
in
I
there
think
anymore.
that, it's just another little background on why how that building came to be selected was, as Mr. Reeves mentioned, it's pretty ugly, I guess is one way to describe it. I mean, you've got a big blank wall with nothing on it. It's probably going to be there for at least a few more years. The money for this project is actually from the renovation of this building, where we, fund part of it for public art. It could be located anywhere in the city, but because it came from this building project, we looked to keep it in the CRA. So that's kind of how that building came to be a focal point. And I don't think you have to decide tonight whether it would be there or somewhere else.
Maybe it should be in this building.
No, can I make a suggestion? Remember where the old council chambers used to be? That's just, there's nothing there now. Wouldn't it be pretty to put something there
Well, we're doing the square.
of a substantial size that the square can be around? And she could know that we're putting it, what we're going to be putting there, so she could do it according to that.
I would rather have it like that
That's
than
not a
this.
bad idea.
Yes.
And it might have to be relocated based on how the square lays out, because you don't want it sitting out in
They
the
just
middle.
have to work around
Or
it.
just be a single orphan instead of a bunch of little orphans.
I just think, I agree. I
And
mean, to me,
also,
to
excuse
borrow
me.
a phrase, it's like with that warehouse, putting lipstick on a pig. I mean, it's a warehouse, for the love of God.
It's not even a city building.
Yeah, I know. It is because we own it, but it's not.
It would be nice to be able to see it from Tampa Road. You said that building
Yes.
is seen from Tampa Road, because that
This
would be
a
really
very
nice
visible
for.
site.
It won't
So
be-
it wouldn't be.
Listen, it
Very
won't-
visible site from Tampa Road.
From Tampa Road,
Yeah.
right.
Turn on to St. Petersburg Drive.
Yeah.
As you turn on the.
As you turn onto.
St. Drive.
So just, yeah, so it's
That
not gonna.
land, what if we sell that piece of land for a building?
No, I agree.
Oh, that, oh, yes. No, okay, wait, now, listen to me, please. Okay, next to City Hall, we are going to put this old square, whatever we're gonna call it. But that thing where the council chamber was, anything could be built around that and encompass that. And if she knows what kind of architecture we're going to do, and how big the project's going to be, and what the theme of the project's going to be, what the architecture is actually,
We don't
what it's
even
going to look
know
like.
that.
Well, we have ideas. But anyway, if we do that and put it there, then everything else can be built around it.
Can I say something on your point and see if I'm following you? Because, and I think we all kind of agree with that thought is, we're going to be in the process of this downtown area and doing a town square or whatever. We've got the Galleria, we've got where the Beamworks building is. Why don't, instead of putting something, and it's nothing against the work at all, but it's just the concept, instead of doing something like that eventually it's going to get dispersed all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
Why don't we come up with something that works with what we're trying to do down here?
That's what I'm saying.
And I
Yes,
was making sure
exactly.
I mean,
Yes.
something that works in this
Yes.
downtown CRA
Yes.
area that, be it have to be moved at some point to fit in the right spot,
Sure.
but that it fits with what we're coming down here. Bubbly.
But can we agree that we like the median, the metal work, the colorful metal artwork?
I would like to see more
More
samples
samples, but.
of what we might do.
And if you would, I have a website and Facebook page as well that you're,
Right.
well, I thought that would be included in your packet, so I didn't.
I would like to see
I would like to see that,
three-dimensional.
yeah. I want to go to Unity Church, because you said that there's
Unity
there's work
Church
at
of
Unity
Clearwater,
Church.
yes, I opened my studio in 1985. I've done hundreds of projects worldwide and locally. Whedon Island, the stained glass piece at Whedon Island, it was the first commissioned by Pinellas County Arts Council. That was mine in 2003. I did a rolling metal gate at Brooker Creek, thank you, Brooker Creek for Pinellas County and creative contractors.
But why don't we just wait until we see what kind of concept we're going to do?
If I might
out here?
suggest to you as well that I work extensively in metal and glass and all kinds of architectural work. So it would be helpful if y'all could maybe look at some of the pieces. It could be an interior glass piece. It can be entry doors to something, of glass with metal overlays. It can be all kinds of things. I did, any of you go to Chickaboom Room in Dunedin? I did the doors that go between Kelly's and Chickaboom Room with the stained glass and the metal overlays and the transom at the front of the Chickaboom Room with the beveled jewels hanging down. I did that.
Didn't you do Sunken Gardens too? Didn't you do the glasswork in Sunken Gardens?
No, not Sunken Gardens.
Oh, I thought you did.
So what we'll do is, I'll take it back to leadership with your comments.
Yes.
And it appears that you're more looking for standalone, similar to the bronze things that we have.
Yes.
As opposed
Not
to,
in bronze, but actually
would
more
be nice.
colorful. But
That would
some-
be
I like
nice.
the colorful, young, fun thing.
I do too. I like
Yeah.
the colorful.
The aluminum's great.
I like the
The
bronze.
aluminum part's fine. It's the
What's your
design
website?
that's,
And the location.
in the location, yeah.
Okay,
The
so-
design and the location.
what we will
website
do
on
is, I'll go back to the Leadership
Website on
Service
here.
Advisory Board, and we'll discuss putting something that's standalone, similar to the, I'm not saying it's going to be bronze, I'm saying similar to the bronze things that we have around the city.
But not a car. We have enough of those.
The vice mayor on a horse.
We can do that. So that's what we'll do, and then something back to
The
you.
modern,
It just pops and
Yeah.
really is unique to,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
well, the modern
Oh, good,
type
Robin, good.
of statuary is
Oh,
great.
yeah, good, perfect, that's awesome.
Right.
No,
We just got.
I'll be your
the
Facebook
little
friend by the end of the
drawings.
night.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, honey.
Okay, so we will not be, that vote failed 3-2, so we will not commission that project.
Sorry, we postponed
We're just
this?
losing everything,
Oh, it
Janice.
just failed. This
Oh,
project
that's right, it
failed.
failed, right. Okay, I forgot, yeah.
I mean, I think
Okay.
it's the best thing to do to.
Okay, item 14, consider approval of the renewal of the sanction agreement with USA BMX.
She had a
The
full meeting for this.
existing agreement expired last year. The agreement before your consideration this evening. The fees changed. These are fees that the riders pay for races and practice, set by the USA BMX. The fee schedule has changed, the dates have changed, of course, and also the name of the organization since the previous agreement. The American Bicycle Association merged with the NBL and is now known as USA BMX, so of course that's reflected in the agreement as well. Tonight I'm recommending that you approve the use agreement with USA BMX Incorporated for sanctioning of the BMX track at Canal Park.
Anybody from USA BMX track here that wants to speak or address us? No?
Not tonight.
Any questions for Bruce? Need a motion to approve the contract? Have a second? Got a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries 5-0.
Request that whenever the Gator Nationals come, I understand that the guy that's head of all that's gonna be here.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Bruce and I are gonna go and, yeah.
And then the mayor. Y'all.
Not the mayor.
I won't be the
I'll still-
mayor.
I'll still be
But
the mayor.
I would
Don't
like
kick
to
me out
go
yet.
because it's going to, yeah, so we all carry the same
But we'll all
message
be there
forward.
probably because it's VIP, but
Can we be there if it's to do the sunshine? Can we both be there?
well, you
I
can,
think so.
When is it?
Because I wouldn't be in office by then.
or you'll be out of office.
They're coming the
I'll be in
night,
office when Gator Nationals is here.
Okay, well then,
You will?
Yeah.
When is it?
like the 9th or
March
something?
9th?
No, it's that weekend, whatever that weekend is, right?
It's, I think it's March 9th and 10th,
Whatever.
whatever, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday,
Yes,
or
it's,
Saturday and Sunday.
And we're trying to get the president, John David, he's coming in on Wednesday. We're trying to get him moved back to come in on Tuesday so he can come to a council meeting. And there's a couple other social things that they're wanting to do. And also the following Tuesday, after the Gator Nationals, they're going to go speak to the county commission to try to move this project that we've talked about forward.
however it happens, the mayor and the city manager needs to meet with them.
Absolutely.
We already discussed that.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that the president might be here on March 5th. If perchance he doesn't, then Lynn can give us a current update on what's going to be happening the next few days, including Gator Nationals. We know the president will be here for that
Right.
on March 9th and 10th.
Very good. And that passed 5-0.
Thank you. Mayor and council, item 15, consider purchase of restored 1949 Rio fire truck.
Got a motion?
Second, you got a second?
It's nice.
You know, I would also ask the council to consider spending that $24,750 on this.
Whatever. You got a motion to buy?
Yeah, you got a second.
Motion second.
Nice.
But do we want to spend that
No,
$24,750 on
not
this?
the, not the art money.
no.
No.
Not
This
that
is
kind of
boy
art. This isn't gonna
toys.
sit out there so the whole world can see
Boy
it.
toys, this isn't art.
Well,
isn't gonna
that
sit
wasn't
where
my
everybody
motion.
can
I
see
just
it.
made a motion, we buy it.
You buy it, yeah.
Let's
How
just
we
buy
pay
it.
for it, I don't care.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
No, I
there's
don't
three
agree.
right
Not
there.
that I don't
What's
care
your-
how we pay
what's your
for it.
take,
We
Deb?
still need the art.
Yeah,
You know what
no,
I
he
meant.
didn't mean that. We know that.
My thought
a
is that
given.
we need to buy it. I have some reservations as to how we pay for it, but I mean, I do think that it's something that, there is some value to it. I mean, it is one of the things that are old, we all agree with that. But I mean, there are some safety things that we can do with it. It's the fire department's going to have it. I mean, it does provide some educational things that we could incorporate it into and
Yeah, I'm just looking for an easy way to pay for it.
Let me tell you something. This city has progressed from what it was a long time ago. Our foundation is on that little old 1901 runabout across the street. And this city has become well-known throughout the whole state because of our heritage, because we've made it so.
And continue to do so.
And continue to do so.
It doesn't hurt.
I don't know how you
But this truck is not really, it's not art. I mean, some people might think it's art, but that's not what the spirit of that penny or half a penny or whatever it is that we got for public art. That it's not the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I would agree with that. I had mentioned, and I don't know if it's possible, but it'll probably kill me for saying it, but I mean, the red light camera is for safety. And I mean, if you incorporate this into safety, you know, education about fire safety and, you know.
There you go.
How
There
to
you
do
go.
things. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. If
Going in the back door, right?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean,
go in the front door, go in the
otherwise,
back door.
how do we pay for
All right,
it?
we're not going to worry about paying for it for now.
Well, I can tell you what my recommendation is going to be. It'll be part of the budget resolution or revision that we do, you know,
Take it out of general.
twice a year.
Yeah.
And it would come out of the contingency of the general fund. It would be appropriated in fire rescue, and that's how
I'm
it
fine
would
with
be
that.
paid for.
That's fine.
All right, I got the
And
motion.
you'll see that at the next meeting.
Okay, thanks. Got the motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're buying a 1949 REO fire truck.
And the guy's paying for the shipment, and that's probably gonna cost him $5,000.
And the chief got it actually discounted from the original asking price. So nice job, chief.
And the pump works, right? Didn't I hear?
And just think, if this next item, we're gonna get another grant.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly, $150,000.
I don't get
Yeah,
it.
yeah, but we'll pay for the
That's right. Thank you. We're up to item 16 is consideration of resolution 2013-02, revising funding for trail construction. This is phase 2 of the Oldsmar Trail construction projects. We have received an additional $151,000 for construction of this phase. I'll read resolution by title only. This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Oldsmar, Florida, approving the local agency program supplemental agreement number 1 between the State of Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT, and the City of Oldsmar, number 41573835801, authorizing the mayor and city manager to sign the agreement on behalf of the city and providing for an effective date. That's the reading of resolution 2013-02 by title only. I recommend its adoption.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for resolution 2013-02?
So moved.
No second.
Second.
Got a motion second. This actually came together fairly quickly for this kind of funding, which was nice. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Anything else, Mr. Haddock?
That's it for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk.
Yes, item number 17, discuss the Veterans Wall engraving criteria. At the October 2nd, 2012 City Council directed meeting, the City Council directed the Veterans Memorial Advisory Board to further define the process, identify the boundaries, review the engraving criteria, and suggest any changes or amendments. Veterans Memorial Advisory Board met November 19th, and they have 3 recommendations that they're proposing for City Council. The first recommendation is for the veterans is to remove all exceptions. The second is that the 3 current exceptions be handled in the following manner. Canadian military would be included in the engraving criteria. Veterans who previously lived in Oldsmar would be included in the engraving criteria. And veterans who are non-residents could be made honorary citizens by City Council prior to submitting an application for engraving. The board further recommends using the city attorney's definition of residence. Resident of the city shall mean a person who has physically resided within the jurisdictional limits of the city of Oldsmar for at least 1 year prior to the submittal of an application to have his or her name placed on the Veterans Memorial Wall. Attached is a draft revision reflecting the board's recommendations, and staff needs a motion to approve the recommendations made by the board.
Okay, anybody have any questions or issues? I don't have any problems with that.
I do.
I don't have a,
They're the veterans, they're the ones that should be deciding.
Well, what about C? Veterans who are non-residents could be made honorary.
citizens.
honorary citizen.
Be honorary
could be
citizens, like
anybody.
Suda's dad, I guess,
did
that
that for
lived
Bill
in
Rackets.
East Lake Oak, that lived in
wasn't
East
in the
Lake
service.
Woodlands.
We made him an honorary citizen.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, but he's not asking to be put on the wall.
Yes, he is. He's on the wall.
What?
He's been on the
Mike is
wall.
on the wall.
I think we should defer to the Veterans Committee because they're the ones, the advisory
Well,
board, they're
yeah.
the veterans,
I'll
they're the
make
ones that are,
motion.
I'll make the,
I'll make the
I'll,
motion, we accept the recommendation.
I second the motion.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
And what is it? What's the motion?
It's to let them
Accept
change
their,
their,
recommendations.
to accept what their changes that they want to make and letting people go on the wall, let them.
Even the part with the honorary
Yeah.
city person?
It's the veterans that made these decisions.
Council has to do
Canadian?
that.
And the
That-
Canadian?
That's not gonna be an easy thing to do. Anyway, that's my motion.
I don't care.
I second.
It's up to them.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
No, thank you. Item number 18, discuss resolution establishing the Veterans Wall Memorial Committee. The resolution was established in 2008, and the Veterans Memorial Advisory Board, when they met on November 19th, discuss the resolution because there are several areas of concern. Section 2 limits the term limits for board members to 2 years. All 5 original board members were reappointed in 2012. With this term limit in place, the entire board would need to be replaced in 2016. Section 2 automatically removes a member if they miss 3 consecutive meetings. The requirement leaves no room for excused absences. Section 4 requires the board to meet no less frequently than once every 3 months. That's quarterly. Over the past couple of years, the board has found it can conduct all regular business with 2 meetings. An April meeting prepares for Memorial Day ceremony. A September meeting prepares for Veterans Day ceremony and reviews engraving applications. Section 5 provides for special exceptions for name placement on the Veterans Memorial Wall. As you just adopted the recommended changes to the engraving criteria, this provision would be obsolete, and Section 5 is also outdated, and that the PNR, Parks and Recreation Department, is now called Leisure Services. The statement can be confusing because there is a PNR, Planning and Redevelopment Department.
Oh, come on.
Veterans Memorial Advisory Board recommends the following 5 changes to Resolution 2008-04. Delete the term limit from Section 2. Change the last sentence in Section 2 to read, any member with 3 consecutive unexcused absences shall be automatically removed and the vacancy shall be filled as prescribed in the section. Change Section 4 to require the board to meet no less frequently than once every 6 months. Delete Section 5 for the special exceptions, and change the reference in Section 5 from PNR to Leisure Services. City staff recommends City Council authorize City Attorney to prepare a resolution repealing Resolution 2008-04 and incorporating the board recommended changes.
I do have one problem with the recommendations. They're wanting to meet once every 6 months, but they're saying that you can miss 3 approved absences in a row. If you did that, you'd be really missing a year and a half of absences.
You're
Why would you even be on that board?
You're right.
So I think you need to strike change number 2 to do, any member missing 2 consecutive meetings, because in essence, they missed a whole year of
The
meetings.
whole year, you're right.
That's a good idea.
I agree. I didn't even catch that.
I would need a motion for that.
You got it.
Change.
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? I think everything else is fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
I just can't see you missing a year and a half of meetings. There's no sense of you being on the board.
I didn't even think of that.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Tell me what you were telling me. Tell everybody what you were telling me before.
Oh, okay. Well, the mobile collection is normally the first Saturday in May, and that's when you pick up the hazardous materials for residential, but that's where you can drop off computers and other hazardous items, paint cans and such, and you usually do that at municipal services. Pinellas County needed to scale back how many drop-offs they had, and so it's not going to be at the municipal services as it normally would be at the first Saturday of May. But there is another one. It's going to be May 11th, and my understanding is the city is sponsoring that, and it'll be at Countryside High School on May 11th, which is 3000 State Road 580, and that's from 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And that information will be on the website. Just wanted people to be aware that what you would normally happen is not going to happen this year.
And you'll remind us beforehand in the meeting, right?
Oh, yeah, I can remind you ahead of time. And I also got the notification from the supervisor elections that they have mailed out 3,300 domestic ballots to Oldsmar residents. So if you don't get your domestic ballot in the next week, go ahead and contact the supervisor of elections to make sure that if you want to do absentee balloting, because they will still mail it out to you. They just need to know. That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you very much. City Council, discuss red light camera revenue. Mr. Haddock.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a result of recent discussions the council's had about the use of the revenue from the red light camera program. And council has previously decided that for the current year, this is the funding source for a new fire engine. I am recommending that the council adopt a policy on the use of revenue from the red light camera program. So based on the discussion this evening, and assuming that you authorize the city attorney to prepare a resolution, then it'll come back to you for adoption in that format. And also, on March 5th, we're going to present the council a report which will focus more on actual citations and the operation of the program. This evening, also, it's not my intent that we really talk about the money. I think the focus should be on how the revenue is allocated and spent. So in the memo included in the packet, I listed the recommended use of the funds for future years. Number 1 in payment to the state of Florida. The state gets 52.5% of the revenue. Number 2, pay the vendor. Number 3, 10% of the net proceeds after paying the vendor for administrative expenses. Employees in finance, public works, and the city clerk's office all spend time in support of this program. Number 4, cost of 1 traffic deputy. Number 5, school crossing guards. Number 6, capital outlay projects related to public safety or transportation. Of course, 1 and 2 are really mandatory, so that's kind of almost a given, or I think it is a given. So the council may wish to certainly, revise this list, and based on the discussion, then if you want to proceed, my recommendation is that it come back in the form of a resolution.
Mr. Mayor? I think it's a good outline, almost. On number 6, I'd like to change that wording, capital outlay projects related to construction of transportation improvement.
Construction?
Construction of transportation improvement, and that gives the city council and the city manager latitude. Let's say if we wanted to improve the safety of one of our roads, we could restruct the road. And that gives a lot of latitude there.
Instead of just transportation.
And then after those 3 words, historical preservation.
What if there's not enough money to pay all of those things?
Well, there probably
What
won't
takes
be.
priority?
Well, then it just doesn't work.
Well, actually,
What takes it?
my intent is that they're listed in priority order.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's a priority.
Yeah, they're in priority. So I would make a motion that we accept this with my 3 words here, construction of transportation improvement and historical
Why don't you
preservation.
just put or transportation improvement?
Jerry, we don't need that.
Wait, yeah,
We don't need that.
no offense, but this is supposed to be for transportation, not historical stuff.
Safety.
Mr. History Buff.
Then vote it, then that's fine.
So, but we like your 3 words, though.
But those 3 words have to be in there.
Yeah, that's good.
No.
We like that.
No, they don't.
Yes,
No, they
they do,
don't.
too.
No,
Yes,
they
they do.
don't.
Yes, they do.
There's something else that can be done. Something else that can be done.
What?
Wait till you get to my council comments.
No, I'm not.
But we
waiting
have
for
to deal with this
comments.
now.
We gotta vote on
Now.
this.
Well, this is just discussion.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask for a resolution for historic preservation.
Okay, but let's do that a little later. I mean, you put that on the,
Well,
I just need to know, do we want Mr. Haddock to prepare the resolution for the next,
well, historical
Yes,
preservation
I-
is gonna be way
The
down
city
the line.
attorney.
proposing to just add safety,
can give it the
your
blessing.
3 words. What are your words? Are you going to make a motion for that?
blessing?
Yes, I just did.
Okay, I'll second it. So I like that.
What did you
Not the
say?
historical preservation.
Not the historical
We'll
preservation
work on
part.
that one somehow.
Not as part of this.
We'll work on that some other way.
yeah.
I
Let's work
don't
on
know what the
some other
motion
way.
was.
But those 3 words are very important.
Okay, repeat the words for us.
Construction of transportation improvement,
Oh,
which gives you the opportunity to reconstruct a road.
right, or repave or whatever.
Transportation gives you that. You don't think you need those words?
Do we need
Well-
that,
It won't
Bruce?
hurt
Do we
them.
need
It
it
won't
in there?
hurt if
I'll
it makes
give
them
you
happy.
let me elaborate a little bit on a previous discussion I had with Mr. Beaverland. And if you just have the word transportation, he brought up that somewhere down the road, somebody might say, well, why don't we use that to buy a bus? That's transportation.
Yeah.
And that really wasn't the intent.
Right.
So that's why he suggested that we add the
Yeah, I have no
words,
problem with it.
construction of transportation improvements.
I agree.
So it would be, number 6 would be capital outlay projects related to public safety or the construction of transportation improvements.
my motion.
That's what he's recommended.
Okay,
Can I
I
ask-
actually don't
Oh,
know
no,
what
go ahead.
construction.
Can I ask a question? Would that include, because what I don't want it to include is I don't want to then take number 6, whatever dollar amount that is, and then flop that into, we're repaving Shore Drive, or we're repaving Park, or we're
No,
repaving.
this is construction, not
Or
repaving.
improvements, if it says improvements, that, I mean, I don't want to,
But it's way down the bottom of the list.
well, it's the only thing that's left. It's the only money that's left to do anything with.
Well, if there's money left, let's redo Douglas.
I don't know if that's in the eyes of
But that's
safety.
safety, because if we redo a street, then it makes the street safer. So
How-
it's under the same.
I don't know if you're gonna have enough money to do Douglas.
Well,
I thought-
I'm
it's
leaving the
in the-
latitude
it's in
for a
the-
future city manager and for future council, so they don't argue over it like we're doing right now.
How I see number 6 working in,
I don't care.
terms of how projects are developed and budgeted is that these projects would be identified in the capital improvements program which of course is a 6-year program. It's updated every year. Y'all know about how that works. So that's where these projects would be identified and how they would be.
Do we need to? Okay.
We'd be discussing them
That's
and
part of the
voting on
capital
them
outlay.
at that
I'm fine with that.
point
It's
too.
part of the capital outlay.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
All right, I got the motion second, all in favor?
Yeah.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Comments by council members, we'll start with Councilmember Norris.
I would like to again congratulate Jason. He deserves it. And I would like to let everybody know a couple things. I brought the colors for the library. I know this isn't on the agenda or anything, but these are the colors, if y'all are interested.
Oh, that's nice.
I know, isn't it nice? And this is the color that we switched to other than white. So you can imagine what it would have looked like if you would have just had white.
Yeah.
And how much nicer it is with that. So I brought that for everybody to see. And then I wanted to, again, thank Congressman Bilirakis for the tickets that he gave my family and I for the inauguration. And also Congressman Kathy Castor gave us tickets for my family as well. And Congressman Bilirakis was nice enough to speak to my niece and her boyfriend. And I got to talk a lot about different things within the government, and that was nice. And the inauguration was wonderful. And I was very surprised because we're a little town. And in DC's, you know, I mean, DC is huge, right? I actually met 2 people that knew all about Oldsmar, and one of them knows our mayor. I couldn't believe it. She was from Chicago. Her name is Jen Zing, Z-I-N-G-G. And she goes, oh, I know Oldsmar, and I know your mayor, Jim. She knew your whole name, everything. So I don't know if you remember.
I don't know her.
She sure as heck remembers you because she was raving about you. And this lady's from Chicago and works for a big company that does things with mayors. I don't know. And she remembers all about Oldsmar and you. So that was really cool. Yeah, I know. I was like, nobody knows Oldsmar. And then I met the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and she asked where I was from. And I said, oh, nobody's ever heard of my town. And she said, where? And I said, Oldsmar. And she goes, I know Oldsmar. So I really felt really good that even though we're a
Are
small...
you surprised people didn't know about Oldsmar? You shouldn't be surprised.
Well, I know people in Florida that don't know about Oldsmar.
County commissioner in Hillsborough County didn't know where Oldsmar was.
Yeah. So it was an honor to represent Oldsmar. It was an honor to be there. I got to do a lot of historical things, and I had a really nice vacation. So again, thank you, Congressman Bilirakis, Congressman Castor. It was wonderful. So that's it.
Thank you very much.
Me? Yeah. I only had one thing, but I was going to do 2. I just wanted to follow up at the council meeting. We all saw the email, but for those that are watching, we brought up the situation of the lighting at the traffic light right there at the AMC movie theaters. And we got an email back that the county doesn't normally do that, but because there's an existing light there with a meter that they are going to, and thanks to Bruce and the staff for pursuing that, they're going to try and light that intersection up a little bit better. So that's a great thing.
A little bit better?
Yeah, well, better. Yeah. So I want to thank that. I don't know, I saw some people kind of leave when the art thing got over, but we didn't really, and I don't know if Bruce in 2 sentences or less can I don't want them to think that we're using money out of our normal budget, that this is something. Can you explain in the Reader's Digest version of that that's actually part of the building thing?
Sure, I did mention the reconstruction of this building. For quite a long time, the city council or the city has had a policy, it's adopted by ordinance, that 1% of construction projects is used for public art. And so that's where the money came from. When this building was renovated, there's $25,000 allocated for public art, and that's where the funding came from for this project that you discussed this evening.
Yeah, I don't want people to think that we're just willy-nilly just buying,
fire trucks,
dolphins,
and armadillos,
metal armadillos, and that's all I have.
That's hilarious.
And spending the money with like just a crayon drawing.
I got nothing.
Councilmember Miller.
Okay. First of all, I want to let everybody know that Gullair Village, for their Relay for Life, they're having a pancake breakfast, as they do every year. It's on February 23rd, and the time is from 9 to noon for $5. And you get pancakes, sausage, orange juice, coffee, and those pancakes are really good.
9 to noon.
They really are. 9 to noon,
That's a nice
February
breakfast.
23rd at Gullair. Pancake breakfast for $5. Can't beat that with a stick. And next, You're going to love this.
I already do.
Anyway, I after I met with Bruce this morning, I went over across the street here to the Historical Society Museum, and I was about to leave, and in walked a couple. You're going to love this. Great-granddaughter of Ari Olds.
Aww.
And her husband. She's just had her second book published. She's writing another book.
How old is she?
She's in her 50s.
Okay.
Maybe a little more. Maybe in her 60s. Anyway, they're from Virginia. They're down here visiting. And they may come back for Oldsmar Days. It's a possibility. And I asked her if she knew Tom and Sandy. And she said, no. I said, well, we know your cousin.
The Ariel's family is so scattered out. They only had daughters. And everybody claims to be an Ariel.
She's Bessie, was it? Bessie was, I don't know. She's Bessie's great-granddaughter. Was it Bessie? What was his wife's name?
Meta.
Okay, who's Bessie's great-granddaughter?
Oh, it doesn't matter. Go on.
Anyway, that it's interesting. Anyway, so we're getting those two together, and let me see, the street light at Dartmouth and Exeter is still out. I grabbed a Tico guy the other day coming from the dog park, and I said, would you go over there and fix that? It's been out for months, And he said if he could, he would. And so I let him over, because he didn't know where it was. So I took him over there. And obviously, he couldn't fix it, but it needs to be fixed. Okay? Next thing. I'm thinking it's about time for a charter review committee.
Oh. I'll send word.
What? It is. It's been how long? It's been at least
Not
5
long
years.
enough.
And we're supposed to have it every 5 years. It's time for a charter review committee. There are some things that maybe should be on one of the ballots.
That's up to the charter review committee. not us, so.
I said maybe should be on on an upcoming ballot. And can we do that?
No.
Can we
Put it on the
convene?
agenda for discussion, sure.
Can we? Okay. Also,
Not for the upcoming ballot.
No.
Not for this
You can't get
upcoming-
anything on the ballot.
to an upcoming ballot,
In about 4 years.
please. Anyway, also, at the meeting of the Historical Society board last night, it was told to me that we could do a resolution for historic preservation. And once we do that, we can get something called a CLG. And that is certified local government. Even though we're a certified government, it doesn't have anything to do with preservation. But once we get that, we can get that CLG designation, and that allows us to get grants.
That's a good idea.
So the city can get grants from that. So that was, let's see, we have the granddaughter, we have the charter review committee, we have the resolution. Could we direct the attorney to do a resolution for historic preservation?
I think we need to, I'm all for it, but I think we need more
Put it on for
information
discussion
on
first.
that. Don't we?
That's up to the attorney.
That's what
It's up to the attorney.
Probably need to see what it is.
I mean, I'd like to at least read something or know a little bit more about it.
I'm all for it. I just
Okay.
think we need a deeper background of it.
Okay, I'll get somebody to get that to you.
Well, the city
Yeah, just
have this,
That's what I said,
Like,
the
where to-
city attorney?
do that.
no,
do?
I'll do it, or have someone do it.
Okay, all right.
Somebody else will do it. but-
You're the boss.
You're not talking about writing a resolution, but more about what it is that we're writing a resolution
And then
about.
we'll put it on for
What kind
discussion.
of, how does this program work? Who, what, when, where, how, and why? and
Okay,
that sort of
all
thing.
right, look
By
it
the
up.
next meeting?
Yeah, we're anxious.
No, I'm just asking, can you have it by the next meeting? I don't know.
Well, I don't
Call
know
a
either,
special meeting
because
for
I
Wednesday.
don't have anything other than what, Janice just told us, but I'm sure you could send me the information tomorrow or the next day, so.
I know when we went to Slidell, they had it. and they weren't using it correctly.
And they had a nice sculpture in the middle of their town.
Used to.
Was it underwater?
Yeah.
Just being
Lake
smart.
Pontchartrain took it down.
Oh, yeah, that is a rough lake.
But no,
I
but-
mean, that is a treacherous lake.
But then
And good times.
correspond with them, okay.
But anyway, okay. I guess that's it. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Before I pursue this, I want to ask a question. Is anybody else on this council aggravated with the sign spinners than just me?
Yeah. they don't bother.
Nobody? Then, okay, then I'm not going to pursue that.
They'll be gone after tax season.
He scratched
Plus, it's the
that
Statue of
off.
Liberty.
I think we need to tell every business in town, then get out there and have signs now and do this.
Nah.
Only a couple of them do it, right?
Yeah, it's just
What if they all did it?
Well, they don't.
No, then we'd
They
have,
don't.
then we'd have a problem.
something about it.
Okay, probably within the next couple of months, I will have my new book on photographs of the city of Oldsmar to go to press.
Yay.
That it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you very
Oh,
much.
no. Thank you all for who you are.
Okay, thank you.
Does that all the time.
We are going to put the revenue, though, from the red light camera on the next agenda, right? Because it's not on the tentative agenda?
March 5th.
March 5th, okay, sorry. A little disappointed in our firefighters pension board members.
I did want to say that.
They had a meeting a week or so ago, and probably the most important meeting that the city's ever had for that board.
Yes.
And 2 members just didn't show up for it. We've left them with 3 members.
I was going
Look
to
to me
say,
like they didn't have the
Biggest vote they'll
intestinal
ever take.
fortitude.
We don't, I mean,
Didn't show up.
they need to be fired. Well, I wasn't
That's
going
what
to
I'm
bring this
bringing it up
up.
for.
I wasn't going to bring this
I
up.
wasn't
but-
either.
But since you did, they need to be fired.
I mean, that's somebody's livelihood at stake there.
I think they were afraid to.
Then they need to be fired.
Then they shouldn't be on the board.
yeah.
I know that.
Oh.
And I don't care which way they were going to vote.
I'm
They should have
really
been there to
disappointed
vote.
in them.
They should have been there to vote. We sat here,
Yes.
listen, they came to us and asked to be on that board. We didn't go to them.
This was the biggest thing they've had to vote on.
Ever.
It's huge to the
I would have
city.
fired them in a minute.
How do we replace them on the committee?
Well, I'm going to ask for, I'm going to ask for a work session on how we appoint boards and the importance of them.
Do that with the new mayor.
I will.
What else did I have? Oh, has anybody else noticed there's a decrease in water pressure lately?
At times.
Do what?
There's big fluctuations in water pressure lately. I mean, Saturday I couldn't get like my backyard hose. It was barely putting out any water.
Were you using reclaimed?
No, regular.
Lisa, I've had that happen also, taking a shower.
And upstairs.
I've had a lot of people
upstairs,
say that
if I've got
to
my
me.
dish, I've got a 2-story house, and if my dishwasher's on and somebody goes in the shower, the water's barely going out of the shower upstairs.
Have you checked your
Yeah,
water
the thing on the
softener?
side?
Yeah,
Oh, my water
because
softener?
usually what happens is the water softeners get clogged up and it'll cause low pressure, because we haven't gotten any calls about pressure. And if you go to
Neighbors
your
are saying the
house
same thing.
and you just turn the bypass on, what it'll do is it'll bypass the water softener altogether. But I can have somebody go out there tomorrow and double check the pressure at your house.
Notice
But-
anything?
No, not
No? Okay.
Yeah, but that happens frequently with water softeners.
It could have been our water.
They get clogged up and then it causes low pressure inside the house.
I get that.
And there is a bypass on it.
Yeah,
So
there's a
you,
bypass. Okay, so I'll
yeah,
check
you
that.
just
I didn't
open the
check that.
bypass and
Don't
then
need
if
it
your
anymore.
pressure goes up, then it's definitely your water softener.
Mayor, you realize, have you realized what a politician we have out there right now? She turned it around and made it our fault.
Common occurrence. We do have residents call and
Oh,
it's
serious?
usually, no, I'm serious. We get regularly.
I'll call you tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Attest to the fact that we get calls about this regularly.
And I have a water softener in mine. You'll be in the shower and it'll be like 60%, and then all of a sudden, it all spraying out at
But
you.
like Saturday, I had like no water pressure.
Really?
I was like, oh, not again.
I haven't noticed that.
Yeah.
I don't either. Yeah.
Oh, you don't have a
pay it.
water softener, that's why, see? You don't have a water softener, so yeah.
I'll have my bypass on.
I don't think I have anything else. I need a motion for the tentative agenda. I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Finished.